All right, guys. So welcome to Wavedash 12, which is all about boy on bike, i.e. Hwoarang. And today is an all UK crowd, and it's really good to see some old faces in here. So I guess I'll just let you guys introduce yourselves.
We're just going to start from the left because everyone probably listening to the podcast knows who I am. Dinosaur, been on this podcast a bunch of times. Everyone probably knows who I am, but I did, in fact, play Hwoarang as the first character I ever played in Tekken, together with King in Tekken Tag Tournament 1.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Haroun. I'm a UK Hwoarang like everyone else on this podcast at the moment. Started with T3 and went competitive in T6. Late T6 and kept on going. I'm an old man now, but not quite encroaching the other two people on this.
I'm Kwis, another UK Hwoarang, started in Tekken 7 competitively. I think I'm the youngest on this podcast. I'm the only Tekken 7er. So when they start telling all their stories, I'm just going to be completely silent because I have no idea about the past.
When we start passing out the word that's original, all that story. No.
All right, I'm Starscream, the oldest living Hwoarang player on this planet.
Facts.
Facts. Grandfather of this. I still dabble. Started at Tekken Tag 1. Or Tekken 3 even, but properly competitive at Tekken Tag 1. So yes, Starscream.
Awesome, and it's really great to have you and everyone on the show. It's really great. I guess the first question to jump into it is, why do you guys play Hwoarang? Why is he appealing to you? I've never mained him. I've always kind of dabbled. I always saw he's a cool design. Fun to play, but he's just too much to wrap my head around, and there's too many variables to keep in my head when I'm playing him. But yeah, as for you Hwoarang mains, what's cool about him?
I'll let the actual Hwoarang mains jump in. I mean, I started playing him just because I thought he looked awesome, and I think he looked cool in the Tekken 3 intro and stuff like that. So. Yeah, I'll let Haroun take it.
Yeah, I mean the Tekken 3 intro was awesome, where he's doing the cutters and stuff. But I just saw him. I thought he looked cool. Starting off mashing 3-3-3-3 and 4-4-4-4 like everyone else. Yeah. Just flashy taekwondo kicks, and the fact that he's got the balls to just stand with his leg up and not block anything, and being played like that, it's appealing. So that's why.
Yeah, basically the same. Tekken 3, when I was probably 3 or so, I don't know, I was very young. I saw this guy that looked really cool in a karate style outfit, and you could just push one button, 3, and just do a lot. And I was like, this is so appealing to me. And then when Tekken 7 came out, I was like, I want to play this game competitively. I just picked the character that I remembered from my youth, and then I say youth like I'm old now. From when I was younger, and then just took it from there. Really, no real design choice. I just when I was a kid, I picked him up, and here we are now.
Yeah, so my story is slightly different. It's not because he had balls, I think is what Haroun said. You liked him because he put his leg up and he had balls. I never really mashed with Hwoarang either. So I used to play, would you believe, Zhao Yu and King first. And we had this guy back in Tekken Tag 1. His name is Harry, Yoshi player. If I say Yoshi player, he used to come in the arcade every week and used to pick someone new and just do stuff with new characters every single week. And then one week he picked Hwoarang, and back then Hwoarang had this right kick counter which gave nosebleed stun, and I saw him do that, and for the entire evening he was just winning, doing nosebleed stun into just bare stuff, and I was like, I need to learn that character. And then so I started, and there was, as you said, there was too many moves, but then I watched some kung fu films, and they had some taekwondo guys in there, and I was just like, yeah, all of that together, I need to learn this character. So that's how I picked him up. I never started mashing. I'm technical, so I'd go meticulously through all his moves list and all of that jazz. So I was never a masher. Yeah, I was never a masher. I don't have those accolades, those mashing accolades like the rest of them.
I feel like we're being shamed right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I'm just saying, like, some people started with meshing, some people didn't. I'm on that side. So
Calling in the accolade like that might be a bit sarcastic.
I know. So a lot of you guys said you started playing him because he was this cool-looking guy in a karate gi, and he's not wearing a karate gi anymore. He's like, what do you guys think of his Tekken? Well, his Fated Retribution redesign, because it's quite a polarizing redesign.
Is this the jacket that is on his shoulders and never puts his arms through, and the kind of crop top, and then the jean with the chain? It's such a
t-shirt. The t-shirt he obviously stole from Ezzy's collection because it's a few sizes too small for him.
I mean, it's very kind of just like anime boy, you know. I think some of his I liked before the new presets came in. I always used the red one. I just kind of liked the color scheme of it, but I wasn't in love with it, to be honest, but it was just like, he looks different. It's cool. He has an eye patch that he doesn't need. Sure,
no,
go for it. But it's okay. It could be worse, but I prefer to use like his presets now. Like he can use his Tekken 3 outfit in the presets. He has the camo shadow suit, which I can use on Jungle Outpost to confuse people, and that's the only reason I pick it. My secret's been exposed now. People are going to start stealing that tech now, and it's fine. That's
I don't think it was a secret.
What, due to every commentator calling it out whenever he does it?
I've seen him and Mario just playing it. Mario going to Souk and K-Wiz just going back to Jungle Outpost with the camo outfit. And
I go to character select first so I can switch outfits, and then I don't
know. I never liked the redesign. I remember one of our WhatsApp groups or something. I think it might have been you, Haroun, who had sent me the picture of when they first released the eye patch and the jacket. And I looked, I was like, what are they doing? Like, I just didn't understand what they were trying. And this is before the story came out, so it's obviously there's going to be something with his eye, and I'm not buying what it was with his eye. So yeah, I was never a fan. So I always stay away from that outfit. Nah, forget that. I'd rather use his other outfit, the Tekken 3 one. And now with all the presets, I always just go back to his Taekwondo stuff. I can't stand that jacket over the shoulder hipster stuff. It's not for me, mate.
I think the iPad. Oh, go on, Dino.
I was just going to be like, I mean, when this guy first came out, he was wearing assless chaps. So like
Prince.
It's not like he's always been like this master of high fashion. Like,
oh no!
Yeah, a leather vest, assless chaps, goggles. Why not?
And balls in it.
And balls. Yeah.
The Anna players are looking for the balls, of course.
No, I was going to say the eye patch is silly and the story justification for it is just absurd. But I've built a custom around it. I've made him into a pirate now, and so I'm happy with that.
So I mean, because I know how they approached it. They were sitting around the table and they were like, "How can we give him an eye patch?" It's not we had a story. Let's give him an eye patch. It's how can we give him an eye patch? Let's put a story around that. Yeah. So someone in the Namco design team wanted him to have an eye patch.
I feel like there was so many better ways they could have gone than a grenade to the that just affected the
grenade. Rest guys, rest face is fine. Localized entirely.
Like he was fighting Devil Jin, laser through the eye. That could have been something. Like there were so many other places you could go.
Yeah. I think they should have just made him a pirate.
Hwoarang is now a pirate. He's now a Korean pirate.
After chasing Jin for so long, he's decided to take up
Fuck
piracy.
this. All right, so I guess let's go through Hwoarang all the way from his introduction in Tekken 3 to current Tekken 7 Season 3 Hwoarang, and his journey from absolutely terrible to okay, like pretty good.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah.
Oh wait, hang on. Are we saying that is respectively? Are we saying that from Tekken 3 all the way to Tekken 7, it's been absolutely rubbish to all right? Because I'm not sure I'd agree with that.
Yeah, pretty much.
No.
When is he?
Like
He's not all right.
So number one, I think he's not all right. Oh no, he's all right. But I think he wasn't Tekken 3. He was rubbish just because his move list was so limited. But in Tekken Tag, I think he had enough. He didn't have a big move list, but he had enough skanks to get him to make him a better version of Hwoarang. The problem with that is in the backdrop of all the other characters in Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag 1, he was rubbish. So when you're comparing him to other characters, when you're comparing him to other Hwoarangs, I still prefer. I still prefer the Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag, just like the right kick counter, the right foot on counter, or his back and four on counter. Those things I think were different for Hwoarang because he had very unique side moves that would make you face northwest, always changing the direction you're facing, all those kind of things. And as a character design or a character uniqueness, I think that made him quite unique. You know, you block something, that's fine, but now you're facing that way. Or you get hit on counter and now you're messed up this way. I like that. Whereas now he's quite generic. He's really been molded in with the rest. He doesn't really have anything like that now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Ezzy. Like he was much more like, I think the design that they took with him, like the direction they took with him, in some ways, like Steve took a lot of that direction from Hwoarang, and they just made Hwoarang much more of a like sort of aggressive flowchart character. Because a lot of Hwoarang stuff, it was like pushing, it was like guard break stuff. It was like a powerful stance sidestep. Like, so he had like strong movement and stuff. So it was movement, counter hits, and guard breaks. And if you think about it, you're like, that's Steve though. That's where Steve is. And that's partially why I just didn't really play Hwoarang as much after like Tekken Tag Tournament. Like he's just, I didn't really, the direction they went with was more string archetypes. Like, yeah, so I was trying to think like what the character was like in like say Tekken. So like say Tekken 3, for example. In this game, he is fun, and he is also competitively he's grappled against the rest of the cast. This is like Ogre in that game is incredibly good. And if you played Hwoarang in that game, you'll just be like, he doesn't have anything that makes him good in later games. He doesn't have back 3, he doesn't have just frame skyrocket, he doesn't have down 3-4, he doesn't have, what he has a hunting hawk, which is unblockable. But even then, that's way worse than Ogre's, because Ogre has a hunting hawk into a guaranteed like
running moon,
super evil grab. He has a good low. He can do low parry into skyrocket, and his flamingo sidestep was good, and he had the nosebleed thing that Starscream said. But he couldn't compete at all. And Tekken Tag 2, again, like he's still fun. He's got like movement. He's got crazy stuff. He's got the nosebleed magic 4. But he can't. He's got an insane 2+4 grab, which they've decided to like now bring back as a weird throwback.
Did you say Tekken Tag 2 or Tekken Tag 1? Which Tekken?
Sorry, Tekken Tag 1. Tekken Tag 1.
Yeah.
That was the other game where he had just a ridiculous 2 grab for no reason whatsoever with a free follow up. He's still missing tons of stuff. He doesn't have his lows. Like you said, he doesn't have back 3. He doesn't have just frame skyrocket. He cannot jab into flamingo. Tekken 4, they sort of build him out a bit more again. He now has down 3-4,
natural combo, I think.
But it's only from left flamingo. One from...
And it was a low in...
Yeah.
So, I mean, before you skip ahead, because in Tekken Tag 1, I believe he had down 3-4, special mid, but on counter hit, it guaranteed right flamingo back in 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
So, it was a threat. It was a problem. I think it was jailed as well. I think you couldn't duck.
That's the thing. I don't think it did jail. I don't think it did jail in Tekken Tag 1. It jailed afterwards.
Okay, but
I think you can duck.
So I remember that the down 3-4 on counter hit being a problem because I mean you don't hunt for counter hits with that move, but if it did hit on counter hit, and it was quite, I think there was visual cues to make it quite obvious that it had hit. But sorry, continue. Good.
But yeah, like just to like give an idea, like so he has no back 3 and he has his down forward 2 does a nosebleed stun, so the character goes staggering backwards. And like Starscream said, you could follow this up if the down forward 2 was like at really close range with forward 4, which is now running 4, which he would go hit them, he would go behind them, then you could do down forward 2 in their back or something else in their back or whatever. But it looked incredible. It was not guaranteed because you could forward escape the down forward 2. So like, and the same thing with like his magic 4. The problem with this is that he didn't have down forward 2 and he didn't have back 3, so he didn't have launching down forward 2. And so in like punishment situations, the down forward 2 wasn't useful because people could just fall escape, would always be ready to fall escape it, right? So it meant that if you blocked, say, Mishima 112 with Hwoarang, your best punishment was back 4 for 28 damage. Shima 112, exactly as punishable as it is in this game, the best guaranteed damage was back 4.
And back 4 is awful on hit, isn't it? Or it wasn't back then.
I can't remember what the frames were on hit. But I mean, I get your point. I mean, for me, I'd always go for, and that's how I've always approached Hwoarang. And I think the reason why I approach Hwoarang the way I do was it was always about movement for me because of how big his movement was in Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag 1. He had what I used to call his triple sidestep, which was sidestep to the right, forward and 3 flamingo, which gave another sidestep, and then immediately sidestep to the right again. And if the character, if people press buttons, you're in their back. And just because of how big that, how much of a evasive movement that was, I always thought with Hwoarang, to punish 112, I'd rather do the down forward 2, and I always buffer the forward. And if I see they don't ground escape, then you get the forward 4, and then you're at a perfect position to get something in their back because of the distance. If you do forward too close, then you're miles away. But because of the distance, you were in their back. And if they fell down, and I'd always buffer the forward, and now I'm closer to them to do something to keep their pressure on.
Do one of his sick Tekken Tag 2 ground hitting moves.
Well, all right, fine.
Tekken Tag 1, I mean. By the way, obviously, forward 3 did not hit grounded in this game.
Forward 3 didn't.
That would be crazy.
Yeah. 4-4-3 didn't hit grounded, and I think he did only have, it was either while standing, the second hit of while standing 4-4, or down back 4, I think was the only things that he hit.
That was it.
Well, you had to like switch stance and do the RFF 4-3 or something like that, didn't you?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his ground game wasn't lying on the ground for anyway. It's a fighting game. He didn't have much in terms of ground pressure. But yeah, it depends on what we mean by which version is the best. If it means comparatively against Hwoarang, that's one thing. But if we mean whether he's able to compete at a high level in the game, that's a different thing. In Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag 1, Hwoarang could not compete. Everyone was so broken, Hwoarang just couldn't, he couldn't get in there. Hwoarang was just cannon fodder. In terms of the other ones, I still prefer, and maybe I'm talking about preference more than which version is better. I still prefer the earlier versions just because he was a lot different, and I liked the whole pressure through guard crush. If you're going to stand there and block, then before you know it, you're going to be facing in a different direction, and that makes people panic and then press buttons, and then that opens up his counter hit game. So I just like that. It was very unique for Hwoarang, whereas he's lost all of that now. All of that's gone out the window.
Yeah.
Except maybe running 4.
But
Running 4, weird stuff happens now.
Yeah,
and that's one of my favorite moves actually because of that. Is it because it kind of retains that old spirit of you hit them and then they don't know what's going on. The cameraman doesn't know what's going on. So yeah,
the cameraman in Tag should have been fired.
They should have brought that guy back. He added to his constantly getting lost added to the excitement.
He was blatantly drunk. The cameraman was blatantly drunk. He had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, like so in like for example, what Starscream's talking about, like in Tekken 3 or Tag, if you do Backlash and they block it, they hold back after Backlash. Forward 3, left foot forward 3 will hit them in their back. It will turn around. They will, like, if you hold back for some reason, you will expose your back to Hwoarang, and they will hit you in the back. Like in Tekken 4, the first game they introduced back 3. If you blocked Backlash and you held backwards, you would get hit by back 3. You would get launched. You could neutral guard the back 3. But then he could do some next stuff, which would put you completely back turned if you neutral guarded. So, and these were like really fun mind games. But like Tekken 4 is the one where they started making him into this Hwoarang, because that was the one where they nerfed the shit out of his flamingo sidestep. His counter hits no longer push people in weird directions. Backlash was the only thing he kept. The crazy like side turned. It all started to go away a bit at this point.
Isn't this?
You saw like now he had.
Sorry, isn't this the first iteration where he got his jabs into Flamingo as well?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was jabs into Flamingo, back 3, just frame skyrocket, left Flamingo, down 3-4. He's way more recognizably this character that we see now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He still wasn't very good. Like he again couldn't. He's still very incomplete. Like he was so obviously better than he used to be. Everyone started playing him. Everyone played him a bit more, and he's always just popular because he's fun and cool. He's interesting. Like whatever game he's in, he's always fun, cool, interesting, technical. Good players play him. But he was still trash. Like,
I mean, you say that to me.
Even law.
I think Hwoarang became more popular more recently than that. I think I agree. You're saying Tekken 4 is the genesis of the version of Hwoarang we see now, so I fully agree. But even then, I don't think because Mad Dog Jin is probably the go-to champion for Hwoarang, and I think that's when he started. That's when he put Hwoarang on the map. It was Tekken 4, and I don't remember there being a lot of Hwoarangs. Hwoarangs really become popular as of Tekken 7. Even Tekken Tag, there wasn't that many Hwoarangs. So there's something in Tekken 7 that I think has attracted more people to Hwoarang.
I think especially in like Korea, for example, everyone had a Hwoarang. Everyone has had him. Like they would never main him or they would never play him in tournament. But everyone would play the character, and then like the new game would come out. And he'd be way better and more complete than he was in the last game. And people would be like, oh shit, Hwoarang's actually good in this game. And then like after about a month, they'd be actually, no, he isn't. Might have gone back to
when did that cycle begin? Like the Hwoarang cycle of
every game.
Every
I mean, maybe, no, like 5. It started in 5.0. Yeah. It was the first game where it came out. And he had so much stuff added in. He could like cancel into Flamingo from Backlash. He had down forward 2 on normal hit, finally. He had, what else did he have? He had like down back 4 forward. He could do like his down 3-4 was more useful. Like
that was when they added the mirror version, or was it Tekken 4? They added the down 3-4 down 4-3 stuff.
No, so that wasn't in Tekken 4, or was it in Tekken 4? Was it Tekken 4?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember. But it was Tekken Tag where they took it out and he got the sweet bang instead. So yeah, so maybe it was Tekken 4 where he did have it in Tekken 4, no? Because he became stringy as fudge. So I think it was Tekken 4 where he had the down 3-4 and then down 4-3.
No, they didn't add the down 4-3 until like until 6. Yeah, until 6.
I just remember that.
It was horrible.
Cringe.
Yeah. But yeah, 5 was the first one where he came out and people were like, he's so much better than he used to be. He must be good now. He just wasn't. Like the good characters in that game. Like, it's insane to think about if you look back at it. It's like he's still so much worse than he is now, and the characters in 5.0 who are good are ridiculous. It's like, here's Hwoarang, this character doesn't track at all to the left, and here's a character that instantly kills you for tracking left, for not tracking left. Doesn't even need to do that to beat Hwoarang at all. In Steve, like, he doesn't even need the infinite at all. It's just an added bonus that he can instantly kill you for doing any major move.
So his JFSR didn't track to the left in that game, or
sidestep left? It's never tracked sidestep left.
Oh, it's tracked sidestep right, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could just go to the. So he didn't.
If you sidestep to your left, if you sidestep to your left. Yeah, and then Steve. Yeah, I mean, Tekken 5 was. Yeah, it was just another broken game. So maybe, I think you're correct. I think, and maybe that's why that cycle comes in. Maybe the cycle is less to do with Hwoarang and more to do with the rest of the cast. Maybe it's Hwoarang looks good and we think he's strong, but at the same time, everyone's playing everyone else, and their trajectory of acceleration just outweighs Hwoarang's to the point where, you know what, Hwoarang can't really compete with these guys because nothing really changes. Everything that was good on day one is about as good as it is on day 10, but it's just everyone else has got so much more that you can't. It's not enough. It's never enough with Hwoarang.
Also, just kind of the shape of the character. Like, he's never been great at getting in on people. Like,
can't get in. Yeah.
Like dealing with like movement and pressure. Like, his neutral has never been particularly strong. Like. And that sort of stays the same, like in every game. Like Feng, for example, right? In every game, the shape of Feng is that you cannot press buttons up on him in close at all because he has 10,000 moves which will get out of everything. His own distance closing stuff isn't that great. So. Even though like Feng, people are like, oh my god, Tekken 5.0 Feng was incredible, and the modern Feng like is rare, but like the same dynamic causes is the same, and so the character has the same amount of success. Like Hwoarang's problem is that like he can rush you down if you just let him, but neutral exchanges he's kind of pants. And that is true, even though like he's been made so much more complete within that shape. It's like someone drew a picture of him and they've just been filling it in over time.
The picture remains, the outline remains the same.
Yeah,
and all his changes have been so incremental and conservative over the years. Has he ever gotten a tool that kind of fundamentally changed his archetype for a period and then it was nerfed or taken away or something? Was ever
Yes. So Tekken 4. We went to the beta testing of Tekken 4, and I'm not sure how common knowledge this is. The original Hwoarang had Jin's parry. Yeah, Jin's parry of all of that jazz was originally given to Hwoarang. And I just think about that now. Then Jin came out and they were like, "Yeah, forget Hwoarang's life. Let's fight Jin." But I just keep thinking I think it'd be more fair if Hwoarang got it, just because Hwoarang doesn't have any like 10-frame knockdowns. And if you parry something and you punish it with back in 3, then you probably parried something which is quite significant. And I mean, although at the time, by the time the game came out, they took it off of him. I'm just wondering what that would have done for Hwoarang as a character in general. Him having that now, like just imagine parrying something and then just frame sky, like that kind of thing. But yeah, and they just took it away. They just took it away and just here's the version that you have, and we've had to put up with that. Outside that, I can't remember. Did he lose his launching downfall 2 at one point, or is he since he's got it from Tekken 5?
He's always had it. Yeah.
Okay. Then no, I don't think so. I do think every Tekken they do incremental changes that are supposed to be beneficial, but they're ever so small. It's always little things that he gets the crumbs, and
I would argue 7's quite a big increase though.
Yeah.
That was what I was going to say. 7 is
how so though? How so? Because for me, I think Hwoarang changed significantly from tag. To me, I feel like I had to relearn Hwoarang. I've never felt that before, but for Tekken 7, I felt I had to relearn him because his left flamingo game was absolutely gone. Left flamingo was gone compared to previous Tekkens. Yeah. So when I picked up Tekken 7, I was like, what's this? I had to totally change how I had to approach a character. But I don't feel, after coming out on the other side, I'm like, yeah, this character is now so much better. I didn't feel that. I just felt, as Dino said, maybe the outline was the same, and this time they filled in something else and taken away something else. So I had to relearn him, but he still feels ultimately the same. I can't say he's significantly improved.
I feel like with Tekken 7, Hwoarang, with whenever they change him in a season, they try and make him better, and they have made him better, but they make him slightly more brain dead in the process. That's one thing I found about this Tekken 7. Like season 2, that's when they made RFS back 3 -10 instead of -15. Then they took away the RFS down forward 4 launch, which was better. Season 3, the 2 grab into the guaranteed back turn 4, and then they just keep buffing his plus frames, like his LFS forward 3 being +4 now, CD3 wall bounce being +4 now, so you can't jab it. Like, I feel like they've just made it easier for Hwoarang to just go gorilla in certain situations. Like, he still suffers in the same way, and he'll still have problems in the same matchups for the same reason, but he just becomes more annoying to deal with for the general cast, which is what I found with the character.
But I feel like it's lip service. I feel like they're like, yeah, let's throw these crumbs to the Hwoarang players and they'll be happy. And we're like, right, he can do this. But then you put it in the backdrop of the game and it doesn't change anything. Like it's never enough that makes him a problem. Like it's always little bits that make this better or make that better. And as you say, it becomes little things that people have to deal with. But then it's either, I think people just end up dealing with them. And it just means that in the grand scheme of things, nothing changes. And I mean, that's not a complaint. I don't want them to make Hwoarang super buff and make him top tier. I think I don't mind. I don't mind struggling along. There are some points that I think he could be improved in. But yeah, they give him little bits of improvements. But it has been consistently little bits of improvements. I don't think over the last couple of Tekkens, overall, I'd say it's been they've done him a disservice. They have continually to given him more. I feel.
I think adding on to that point about like the change they give him is just like lip service. I think one of the best examples of that was, I think, is it 3.31 or 3.30 when they made right foot forward back 2 +4 instead of +2.
It doesn't change it at all.
Yeah, I saw people like, oh my gosh, this is +4. That's crazy. That's crazy. And I think JDCR was like, whoa, this is +4 now. And then he did the right forward back 2 into down forward 4, and he was like, oh, you can still step it. This is garbage.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
The only thing now is like you just can't mash after it, which like there's no reason. Just the same way to do Hwoarang anyway. Just step him and kill him.
And you can still magic 4-2 in a row. So if he does back 2, then magic 4. But I do feel like they've put in the most effort in 7, because I mean he can't get in, so they gave him a forward 4 for an approach tool. And like in season 3 they made RFF. He doesn't have a good high crush. I'll give him RFF back 4 so he can go under like electrics and Steve back 4 and everything, and launches them for it, and things like that. You know, just
I think.
Go on.
Like Tekken 7 is.
So I don't agree with a lot of it. Like I'm not saying it's inherently good. Some of it turns out being poor, like the RFS overhaul, like going down 3-4 into RFS into like 50-50 and everyone's brain turns off. I don't like that about the character at all right now. I much preferred all the options he had before, even though they weren't quite so rewarding. You could be a bit more methodical with RFS. But they definitely, from their point of view, they saw it as a buff. Like, oh, he's got a homing sweep bank now that wall splats and wall breaks and balcony breaks and all the rest. And he's got a -10 launcher to mix it up with. And to them, the reward is there. But they've just they've simplified him, and I don't agree with that. But yeah, I think they have, like, it is a big change. But some of it is objectively positive, I guess, with the reward increasing, but some of it's just like it's just taking out a lot of the depth, and I don't like that. Like with the tooth throw, for example, I thought it was quite good before because tooth throw, you got really good Oki off it. So if they got up, you could do the while staying 3 follow up, and you could punish them for getting up wrong. Now it's just switch my brain off and just mash 4 while I get this guaranteed damage. So whenever they remove these options, I kind of cringe a bit.
And the thing with the tooth throw as well, like the Oki afterwards is stupid. If you don't tech roll, the RFF forward 3 is guaranteed for close to 80 something damage. And then if they back roll, you hit them with running 3 into back 3 for a full 99 damage. I mean, it's the obvious answer is just break the throw, right? But you know, he does his back turn throw mix up, which makes it a complete guess. And then 99 damage for not break for one throw. I mean, Hwoarang's one of the best grapplers in Tekken right now, which is kind of weird. But he's always had good throws, and I don't think having good throws is a problem. I just think making the Oki brain dead after that 2 throw, which it used to be like intricate Oki, you know, you might be able to launch them if they get up wrong, you know, knock them down if they get up wrong. Yeah, I had to think about it, but now it's just mash 4. If they stay down, forward 3. If they back roll, running 3, and if they tech roll, they have to tech roll into the running 3, and they're just sitting there now at -6. Like I just want to think again after the 2 throw.
But maybe that's part of what's increased his popularity. Maybe I think the average player doesn't want to, because Hwoarang's I'd put Hwoarang up there as one of the more complicated characters with all the stances and the transitions, and you have to know what you're doing. I mean, with other characters, Tekken has a lot of generic characters that have a forward 2 move, got forward 1+2 throw, a generic down forward 1. Like there's a generic sort of flow chart that they use to build up characters. So jumping between characters is quite easy. But with Hwoarang, with all of his stances, I mean, if you want to include his back turned, he's got is it 6 stances? He's got left flamingo, left stance, right stance, left flamingo, right flamingo, then back turned, left flamingo, left stance, back turned, right stance. So you have to know so much and be so aware of what you're doing. And I think they just wanted to lower the bar with that. And maybe that's what's made him more accessible and hence increased his popularity. Maybe they're tired.
I mean, I think you do, like we sort of said at the beginning, you do see a lot more Hwoarangs in tournament now, like, than you did before. Like, basically, it was just, like, Izzy, and then maybe it was speed kicks, like, at some point, or, like, but, like, it was only specialists, and generally only specialists in the West. You wouldn't see them in Korean or Japanese tournaments really much. Unless it was like, you know, on a team tournament or something, like Master Cup or something. But you now just do see Hwoarangs in tournament. Like, I think, yeah, it's Tekken 7, like, this is the biggest jump for him in terms of his like,
popularity.
But also just his applicability. Like, he's just like a much more practical character. Like, yeah, the stuff he got, like forward 4, Backlash, back and 3 and forward 3, now both hitting grounded, whereas in most games it was only one of the 2. Like, yeah, the sweet bang, just frame skyrocket being made safe. Like, and some of the buffs I think they've given him, like, are really cool, and I like them a lot. Like the punch parry. And I really like the punch parry as well. And down forward 3. Down forward 3 is sick.
The punch parry is lip service. we need to talk about we'll talk about, I think at some point we'll talk about matchups, and we'll talk about whether that punch parry made any difference to Hwoarang's life. Made any difference to his life.
I think one thing they could have done is just let him parry in Flamingo, maybe. That's the only thing I could think maybe adding to actually do something, but the punch parry itself it's okay. It helps against Steve sometimes, but
yeah, but sometimes. Because I mean, if you got, because I remember King has his kick counter. So once again, on paper, if you think about King versus Hwoarang, everyone's like, well, King should destroy Hwoarang because he parries kicks. But in reality, when you're playing a real Steve player, I'm not sure what your guys' experience are. No one's grabbing my legs. Like, if you're playing a real King player, like the ones that aren't really good, they'll be standing there all day trying to grab your legs, and you kill them. And the better King players still don't try to. They don't approach Hwoarang like, let me try and grab his legs. So it didn't change anything in that matchup. That matchup is they still play the same. And with Steve, I think you have to use it to slow him down. But ultimately, you still can't press buttons against Steve. Like ultimately, Hwoarang still can't do much. So you use it to try and slow him down. But if you try and abuse it, then you get battered. So in that matchup, it hasn't really changed much. So I just feel it's lip service. I just feel like, here's a punch parry. You guys can't buy yourself some nice rims. Like it's not enough. It's not enough.
I quite like it though, because I think it's quite unique because it recovers so quickly. So you can get away from. I think you can get away from Steve for free unless they anticipate it. So
they need to give him, as Kay was said, they need to give him Baek's version where. It's a problem at all times. It's not only LFF. It's I can do this whenever, and then I think it becomes a thing. He needs to auto jump in Flamingo. He needs to have punch parry in every single stance, and then I'll start to be like, this guy's they're taking him seriously now.
So one of my favorite pastimes when I'm playing the Steve matchup is parrying the delay duck mix up on reaction. It's just really fun.
Yeah.
Just seeing him sparkle for a bit and then going, nope.
Yeah, like fact that he doesn't get much.
No, yeah, the reward isn't good, but I think the risk you're taking isn't as big as other parries. It's not, the recovery is quite short.
They tried to I think they tried to up the reward in season 3 by giving him down forward 1-3, obviously.
Yeah.
But one thing, down for 1-3 it's okay. But one thing I've seen in certain matchups, it means nothing. One of the worst of the 2Ds, Akuma just DPs every option except the power crush. Even if you jab DP. I think some characters can actually just the only thing you can't do is mash, but someone unless you're like Zafina and you do down 3 and then your life is gone. But it's just an okay change. I like it after punch parry, but I feel like make it do a bit more damage if anything. Because
it does less damage than 4-3, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So I mean, I think it's okay after punch parry. I still prefer 4-4 after punch parry. The only time I ever use down forward 1-3 is if I'm in their back or in their side, and it's hitting. I'm not trying to mix up with it. I'm not that guy that's do it and then make them guess. No. And I mean, I suppose we should be happy because I think Baek's down forward 1-3 was mid high.
Yeah.
Whereas this one's mid, which is good and natural combo, but it's just not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah, you've got some keys after it. Alpha loves to do it actually. The down forward 1-3 into the back 1 or the.
Yeah, no, I saw your matches. Yeah,
speed kicks, a secret scroll. That's
right.
into back 1.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. I don't particularly like it either.
I might have been playing Gassain's Lee the other day, and I was telling him I'm going to do down forward 1-3. At the end of the round, you get a free and you get a free down forward 1 on block, and then I did down forward 1-3 into back 1, and he did jabs and died. You can't do anything about Leeds. You can't do anything about Leeds down forward 1.
You're saying it's guaranteed. The back 1 gets beat by it.
Yeah, and you can't power crush through it. You can't power crush through it because it absorbs and then blocks and all that stuff.
They added some other keys in this season, didn't they? What do you think of the RFF 3-4 forward cancel now?
Gimmick City.
Seems like some bollocks gimmick. Yeah.
Gimmick City. I'll say this. Me and Haroun plays, and I think I got him with the 3-4 cancel and then the parabellum kicks into launch. And then for the rest, for the next hour, I was pissing myself laughing. But it's Gimmick City. I mean, because anyone who knows Hwoarang, I mean, it's because you can't use it in combos. It's literally meant to gimmickicize that move. It's just a gimmick, isn't it?
And no one ducks it 3-4 anymore. One thing I've noticed, no one tries to duck anyway. So the cancels unless you're doing something. So if you're doing something like 3-4 forward cancel into sweep bang because you have the biggest balls on the planet, I don't see Like, there's no reason to do it, really. All it's done is like mess up my combos sometimes. Because when I do,
because you're holding forward by accident,
I drop the combo. That's all it's really done for me, to be honest.
Oh no, the same for me. When I started, and he now had back and one. Don't ask me what I was holding back while doing combos. But then I'll be doing combos, and then back and one will come out. I'm like, oh my god, man! Like, what is this crap? But yeah. So I'm doing the 3-4, and then he just stops, and you're like, oh no, for the round, and then for the grand,
for the grand.
I guess. Go on.
I
was going to say.
Oh, go on.
I was going to say I only do back one by accident as well. I think it should be taken out. I think it should be taken out.
I'm trying to block, and then I want to jab, and here we go, back one, -14. But not -14. So I'll take that.
Yeah, back one's one of those moves you see a lot at like an intermediate level of play. But
remember when it was the only move I used, Haroun?
Yep, after everything. Yeah, I remember that.
I got hit back one. I did a hit back one, plus minus. It didn't matter. I just did that because it used to be counter hit knockdown.
Yeah, -13.
If they stayed down, you actually got a full combo if it was down back 4. And I was just like, this move is so good.
I still think it was horrible, but it wasn't so horrible.
I was like, this move is so good. And I was literally so new. I didn't want to play defense. I didn't know how to play defense. Back one was my defense. That was. I miss those days, to be honest.
So all the opponent has to do is just stand there. It doesn't have to space or anything. He's just like, just like be spacing out for a second, and back one whiffs in his face, and then he just launches you.
They made it -14 in season 3, right?
Minus 14 on block, -1 on hit, and took away anything it does on counter hit.
Yeah. So pretty major nerf. Yeah. I guess let's move on to the next topic, which is in the current meta Tekken 7 season 3. What are Hwoarang's major strengths and major weaknesses? And leading on from that, what are his best
punches and throws?
Yeah, Dinosaur says one of his main strengths, according to Dinosaur, is the fact that he can punish rage arts with just frame skyrocket. If you don't do it, there's no reason to play Hwoarang.
Let me link this guide.
True.
Hold on.
Strengths, punches, throws, weaknesses, vulnerable to being punch parry. People are tempted to use his kicks sometimes.
Oh no! Hwoarang, king of Taekwondo. One of his minuses are people are tempted to use his kicks. It hurts because it's true though. It's annoying.
I hated being called out in that guide by Dinosaur. I felt attacked quite.
Don't get trapped in that vortex.
I've got a call out
using the Taekwondo guy's kicks.
Apart from Starscream.
You know why I didn't get called out? Thank you. Because I am not a victim of all of those things that you call people out in. Godfather of Hwoarang. In fact, I invented Hwoarang's punches. I remember playing Hwoarang so much and getting absolutely horribly countered every time I went anywhere near the 3 or the 4 button. That I sat down and I thought, what can this guy do that doesn't get absolutely blown up? And it was his jabs. And to be fair, he hasn't got great jabs. It's just all he has is jabs. So it's not like his jabs are positive. It's just that's all he has. So yeah, don't press kicks unless you're in a juggle. Unless you count it.
It's kind of funny though, because a character that is supposed to specialize in kicks has such weak neutral. You'd think that his kicks would give him range, and that would allow him to control range 2 pretty well. But nah, I mean, he got forward. No, sorry, go on.
Because he doesn't one of the major things is that ironically he's one of the only characters without a magic 4 or anything like.
How does that make sense? The Taekwondo guy doesn't have a magic 4.
They took away his generic down 4 as well.
He has RFF 4 for his magic 4, but that's it.
No, but everyone else has 10 11 frame Magic 4 like launches or does something special. Hwoarang, the kick guy, he hasn't learned it yet.
Wait a minute, guys! I've got a 4. Wait a minute. Let me just get into my stance first.
Yeah, exactly.
You say that.
Be real fast.
You say that, but I actually agree. Like RFF is his neutral stance. Like, why would you never not be in RFF when you're in neutral?
Best stance.
Yeah.
Like,
because you just block.
Yeah, exactly. Something.
Just go back into it. It's fine.
one sec. Like, all right, let's do this. Guys.
If you've got something that's not neutral,
Yeah. So in terms of his main, I mean, because we'll be here all day if we talk about his weaknesses. His strength, I think, his strength is people not knowing the matchup. I think Hwoarang can eat you alive if you don't know the matchup. More than other characters. I mean, if Hwoarang is close to you and he's doing all this stringy stuff, then yeah, you can get absolutely blown up. Outside, and I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I'm trying to genuinely work out what I would say. I mean, his power crush. Yeah, I think we said his power crush is Backlash. That's a strength, I suppose, because how difficult it is to punish and what it means when it hits on normal or counter hit. So I'd say that's a strength. Against more seasoned players, it's less of a, you can't really do, they get hit less by it and, they're quite quick at punishing it, but that's probably one of his positives. And I mean, I think Ari, you said about his Sparta kick being used to get in. I don't know, because once again, I suppose it depends on the level that you're playing at, because if I try to use it at character 2 or something, it always gets sidestepped. So I get in, but I've just opened myself up to attack. So once again, I think it's lip service. I think they've given him the illusion of something that gets in, but at certain, depending on your opponent. Now, if I try that against Dino doesn't press buttons when we're playing. All he does is just sidestep left, sidestep left, sidestep left. He just does that. It doesn't matter what hits him. He just keeps sidestepping.
No. Come on. I do the correct thing. I sidestep to the direction of Hwoarang's stomach. That's
Nonsense.
I always love that meme. I'm like, sidestep to the direction that Hwoarang's stomach is facing. I'm like, I just imagine all these like new players who have started playing the game and they're just sweating. Which way is the stomach going, man? Like, and he does like a jab into Flamingo and they're like, all right, it's that way. And they're like, just go left, man.
Just go left. Always.
No, but the RFS is scary though. RFS
what's scary?
RFS back 3 will hit you if you go left, right?
That's like his only that's like one of his only moves to catch you in trying to move that way. I think in RFS.
That's like one of the 2 most used moves in RFS. So
be honest, I just block or backdash in that stance.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
it's not to sidestep left and never block. If you're doing sidestep left guard, sidestep left guard, just rinse repeat. Eventually, you're in his bottom, and it's just everything. Then it's like you just do anything to him, and it gets to the point. And this is my experience of Dino. It gets to the point where Dino doesn't press any buttons, so I start feeling myself, and I start thinking, all right, let me start introducing the kicks. And that's when the sidestep starts to work. So, yeah, the backlash. That's it. Like backlash. Backlash.
Like he's got lots of like genuine strengths. Like there's characters that you can still just run away from in this game. Like if you're really up ahead on life and you're against like Claudio, for example. Claudio is going to have a really hard time like winning a match back from a big life deficit because he doesn't have any scary lows. Like the only scary low he has is one that Hwoarang also has, which is sidestep 4.
Sidestep 4.
Like if you're just blocking and waiting against Hwoarang, he can always bring the match back. He's one of those characters he can bring a match back and he can bring it back fast.
Yeah,
because he can just run up to you, just goes down 3-4, down 4-3. Oh shit! Just got knocked down. I lasted. That sequence sucks, by the way, and I don't like it, but
yeah,
it's there. He can bring matches back really quickly.
But that's under the guise of him getting in. And If you get in, then yes. Yeah, no, it's a strength. It's a strength, I suppose. Yeah, no, he can. But once again, I suppose it depends on on the level of player that you're playing, because seasoned people, I mean, they sidestep and all of the options kind of start to feel futile at a certain point. The down 3/4 string is kind of obvious at some points. I feel. I'm not sure if it's telegraphed or it's just I'm dying. What's my options? And the only option, if you follow the flowchart, the only option you have is down 3/4, which just gets you low parried or whatever. So yeah, I mean, yes, depending on the level that you're playing on, I think, depending on the level of the player you're playing against.
I still think he's like objectively like tough to like run away, to like not necessarily to like run away from. Like again, he can like keep out a lot of. He's gonna struggle to make a comeback on someone like Steve. He's just not gonna get in. He's not like a character where you can just beat him by blocking. The Steve is gonna have to press buttons to keep him out. Can't just run away from him to run the clock down. You can a few other characters. So he brings stuff back a lot. He's got really good damage. Like he's decent in rage. Like he's very good with balcony breaks. Like the right flamingo mix-up by balcony and wall breaks is really good.
Yeah, so actually you're right. His damage, his combo damage, if you ever get them up in the air, his combo damage is strong, and his wall damage is against the walls. He really hurts you. Yeah, and his wall pressure. So yeah, if they've got their backs to the wall, and you limit their movement ability, trying to get away from that is a struggle. And
then obviously, like
I think there's tournament.
Say it again, sorry.
With punishment as well, back 3 is really good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, then like Dinosaur said, down 4-2 against Marduk is also one of his strengths.
Brian.
I discovered Fahkumram actually.
Brian.
Down 4-2 goes under his jobs. I was thinking.
Then we'll just do down 4-1 and you're in a 4-way mix-up.
Yep.
Go under his down 4-1 as well.
Situation.
The thing with back 3 though is that it's a great major whiff punisher, but it's the same issue where we compared Asuka with Steve on last week's podcast, in that Steve doesn't have great major whiff punishment, but his minor whiff punishment, his jab strings, his 2-1, his back 1-2 are all fantastic. And the type of whiffs you see at a high level of play are all minor whiffs. But Hwoarang can punish big whiffs at back 3, easy peasy. But up close, all he has are jabs, really.
Jabs in the 4-3. Yeah. I mean, that's one of his negatives. You're right, Kay, it's about the back end 3, and sometimes you have to fish for it. And the range on his down forward 2 doesn't allow you to use it as well as a whiff punish. So yeah.
I think one thing when you see Korean Hwoarangs play, very often they'll just throw out the down forward 2 though, because it's a safe mid launcher. So why not? Obviously doesn't launch crouches, but they'll just kind of throw it out. But we'll talk about like he kind of has up forward 3 plus 4/4 as a whiff punish, but it's like the range in it is very deceptive. Like there were times you could be spacing that you think it's going to hit, but it's not there, and then it's quite a big whiff as well, because once you finish the string, it's very slow. Recovery isn't great.
That's my go-to. I prefer whiff punishing with up forward 3/4.
Yeah,
up forward 3 plus 4.
I mean, it's as a 14 frame punish, it's not the best. Plus, it's 30 damage and plus 4 on here, I think. So not the best 14 frame. That's why one thing I say about Hwoarang is when you're punishing, just do your 11 frame up until 15, because the other punishes just aren't really worth it.
And I think, aside from Backlash, down forward 3 is another really good, really unique power crush, in that there are not many strings like this, but ones where like it's a 2-hit string, and if you see the first one connect or armor through a move, you can just press 4, down forward 3/4 to finish the string. Most power crushes just one-offs. They're like one-hit moves. I can't think of any other power crush that does that.
Yeah, there's no 2-hitters. I mean, for like confirmation on power crush, it's basically only 2 things which are even slightly like it are the Gigas Flex and the Akuma focus attack. But that's more like the cancelled version of Down Forward 3 than it is the full version. But like the full version, it's the only 2-hit Power Crush, I think.
Yeah, I think they missed a trick. I think it needs to, because when I season 2 that they made it a Power Crush.
Yeah, I think so.
Season 2.
And I remember seeing it, and I remember thinking, oh my god, I'm going to Power Crush something, and then Rage Art as a punish because you're in Flamingo. Yeah. And I remember getting so excited, thinking, oh, people are going to die in strange ways, but it doesn't cancel early enough. Yeah. So you can Power Crush, and you're back in Flamingo, but it's so late that you can't really do anything effective.
It depends on certain moves as well. Like one of the flashiest things you can do with it is the armored shoulder charge when they run towards you.
Yep.
You can absorb that and then up forward 4, and then that's something I just, it's fun. It looks cool.
That is sexy. That's why I'm glad they added forward 3 and stuff to the game, because it is that is something which is unique and which also looks really cool. Like that was my classic example of where I saw it in the buffs list, and I was like, it's sick.
Yeah, you can do it on drag running too as well, which is that's another fun one to do. But it's
on Dragonov's running too.
Yeah, but it's one.
And it punishes.
Yeah, it punishes, but it's a space thing. So if you catch it too early, you can recover from ring 2 and block.
Yeah.
So it's really timing based. It's not a consistent thing, but when you land it, you feel very good about yourself. So it's just
while you get the combo and then Dragunov comes and kills you and wins the round. So
one thing I find odd actually is people defending against the down forward 3 armor, that they get really scared as if it's some sort of pressure tool and not realizing you can down forward to him if he's in Flamingo at any point. Like he'll get launched.
It looks intimidating because he's, especially if you do the down forward 3 left Flamingo cancel, he's approaching you whilst having armor. Now the range of the armor isn't very big, and it's more intimidating on paper visually than in reality. I think it's like just like lip service as you were saying, but it looks cool, it's dynamic, and when it does occasionally work, it's just really satisfying.
Yeah. I think the armor window is also much smaller on the cancel. I think if you cancel it, it actually takes you out of the armor. Like I think the actual time period you have to armor is smaller.
I think it was good that they gave him because that's Baek's cancel from previous Tekkens, and I guess it's good. I mean, the armor it is a buff from in season 2, and the fact that you can do it and help mix up his timing with some of your attacks. If you're doing all your string stuff, you can throw that in there to sort of throw them off a bit. I mean, I've seen constant Hwoarangs where the opponent just ends up in like a rabbit in headlights, where the person's just there doing the cancel over and over and over again, to the point where at some point they press a button, but it's too late, and then they get counter hitted and stuff like that. So it is a buff, the fact that they've given him, and it looks sexy because there's the armor flash that's happening while he's doing it. So.
And one thing is, when it clashes with another Power Crush, there will be like a weird thing where like it just looks like time stops, and it literally makes it hit confirmable for Hwoarang, because you can see it connect, time stops, and you just mash the 4. That's just a weird thing that it looks like a bug. I don't think it was intentional, but I like it.
It used to be a necessity before it was a Power Crush, because in season 1, before the down 3/4 pushback was reduced, a lot of the time you would need to approach again, so you need to switch stance and go in with it.
So just to reiterate, like on the strengths and weaknesses, basically does a lot of damage. He can rush you down if he gets in, if he can initiate, but he's not very good at initiating because his neutral's crap, and his Power Crush, aside from his Power Crush, his his defensive options are bad. His High Crush is bad, Low Crush is bad. His parry is one of the least rewarding ones in the game. A game where increasingly more people seem to be getting full launches off parries. And it means that basically like all his weaknesses still sort of point to the same kind of characters. It's like small Tekken, neutral Tekken, like that kind of up close sort of thing where they're just having the same exchange over and over again. You're just at mid range. It's just not Hwoarang's game, and that is increasingly what Tekken is about. That is one of the reasons why we mentioned this as like one of the things in the story, in the document. Why do people like Hwoarang when the game comes out? Because in every Tekken they subtly change the neutral and movement systems and the ranges of pokes and things, so that having flowchart offense or canned defense always puts characters higher when the game comes out. So like people are like, oh yeah, Hwoarang, he can just rush you down. No one knows what's going on. He seems good in this game, and plus they buffed him tons. Excellent. Like the same thing with like hyper defensive characters. People will be like, oh yeah, Xiao Yu and Feng are really good in this game because it's just come out. Like in the end, it doesn't matter whether you have super defensive options or you have like a rush down offense once you get going. What really matters is dictating neutral exchanges. It's like boxing and jabs. So yeah, that's why Hwoarang isn't great. And the game is like this when we're just sort of going back and forth in the neutral stage. He's just not great.
Yeah, and on that note, Steve's always been a terrible, or one of the best matchups against Hwoarang, or a really bad matchup for Hwoarang. I mean, even the Tekken 5 intro kind of paid tribute to that. It's typically been one of the worst matchups in the game. It's a bit better now because Hwoarang has slightly better neutral, slightly better defensive
punch parries.
Yeah, punch parry.
RFF back 4 actually. RFF back 4. Yeah.
For some reason, I can't hit launcher now. Okay.
Beats back 1, so you can just be an RFF neutral and just tag him with it.
Yeah.
I've always found it quite frustrating, the Steve matchup. I mean, from Tekken, my favorite Tekken is Tekken 5 DR. Too much stuff happened in UK around that time, so for me that's my favorite Tekken. But it was really annoying because Hwoarang couldn't touch Steve in that game. Like now Hwoarang's got a better chance, but in Tekken DR, Hwoarang could not touch Steve. The things that should punish, like I think he'd do Sonic Fang, and Hwoarang could only punish it with something like down forward 1+2. I think back and 4 would miss. Like it was just strange. And that
Duck 2 was just safe.
Yeah, Duck 2 was safe. So
this was a game where Steve could weave really quickly and then do Duck 2. We talked about it last week. He could do left weave Duck 2. So left weave would avoid all Hwoarang's moves. Hwoarang didn't have a mid tracking move. He didn't have down forward 4 / back 4 in that game. It would just evade everything. Just do Duck 2. Which is safe.
So, and I remember that Steve wouldn't do Duck 2 in that game because people could punish it, but Hwoarang sponsored that move and said, hey, why don't you try this move on me? And Hwoarang couldn't do anything about it. And that has just continued for all the Tekkens where the kicks, and it's supposed to be a classic matchup, the kicks versus the punches, but it's always leaned so heavily in Steve's favor. Hwoarang doesn't get a bring in. And I would say that this, with the punch parry, it's a good way of sort of slowing Steve down, giving Hwoarang an opportunity to slow Steve down. Because there's certain characters in Tekken where that character's playstyle forces you to play their playstyle. In general, with Mishimas, you can sort of do what you're doing. You just have to be mindful of the God Fist. But there was characters like Steve or Xiao Yu where whatever your character does, it doesn't matter. You have to now defend against what that character's doing. If you're a rushdown character and you're playing Steve, it doesn't matter that you're a rushdown character anymore. You have to wait for Steven. You got to play what he's doing. You got to play a way against Steven. And I think Hwoarang, I mean, that's I think Steve versus Hwoarang, that was one of the ultimate versions of that, where Hwoarang's really bad. I mean, we've joked about his kicks, him being a kick character and he can't use kicks. so you're sort of forced to use punches. But even then against Steve, you can't even do that. So you're even forced. It becomes a waiting game. The rushdown character now is on the back foot infinitely. I can't get in. I can't press buttons when I'm in. So the matchup becomes really, really, really awkward. I think the punch parry is the only thing that sort of saved that. But as a means of, let's buy some time, let's slow down, get a few bits of damage here, and then go back into the waiting game. There's never a time when you feel comfortable rushing Steve down. It's never been that.
Yeah, I mean the side weaves are still incredibly strong against Hwoarang. So if you're hitting him with like a while standing 4-4 or anything that leaves you in RFF, then it's the Hwoarang player that's fearing for their life that they'd get weaved on and launched. So yeah, he's got a few options that can sort of discourage Steve from doing weave, but it's sort of in Steve's favor at that point. After
you're now playing Steve's game. So normally after you get while standing 4-4, it's still my turn, and now you have to guess what I'm going to do. But it's the odds are in Steve's favor, where now you're thinking, what can I do that's not going to get me killed? And I mean, maybe it's a personal thing. I'm not sure how you guys feel about playing Zhao, playing Ling.
That's a matchup I've gotten a lot better at. Because it's a thing of where a lot of Lings that I play believe this matchup's so good I can do what I want, and then like stuff like while standing 4-4, they're just going to AOP after that. So if you do the right forward plasma blade, they get launched. Stuff like Cali roll, they'll turn around and parry. I just do skyrocket. And then my goal in the matchup is to make them respect me, because Ling players just will not respect the matchup at all. So you have to force them to do it. I think the matchup it's not terrible, because there are things that Hwoarang can force. Like Skyrocket's a good AOP catch, probably his only good one that isn't -19 like back 3. And but there are weird things, like I've seen AOP go under down 3-4 sometimes. But there's a situation where I think the matchup is like maybe like 6-4. It's not awful. But it's just in her favor quite a bit. I don't think it's one of his worst matchups now. For me, Zafina has become the worst matchup to play with Hwoarang, because in similar situations like while standing 4-4, Zafina just mashes. If she does while standing 2 and you do down forward 4, that's going under. You down forward 4, she does while standing 1-2, that's going under. If you do while standing 4-4, she does the full crouch sweep, she's going under. Like there are times where you have to do while standing 4-4 and commit to backlash. You commit to the backlash for the while standing. Okay. Yeah, but if she does the while standing 2 rollback, you'll just take damage and she gets away from you. Yeah. So there are so many situations. I've seen down 3 reliably go into down 3-4. It's probably, I think it's Hwoarang's worst. It's top 3 at least worst matchups for Hwoarang. Like she has everything you need to deal with that matchup. Down forward 2 goes under jabs, but that's just a general thing. It's a terrifying matchup to play, because like you said, you're playing Zafina's game. Yeah. Because she doesn't have to respect you at all. You have to, and even when you try and do that stuff like while standing 4-4, then I'll do backlash to stop her from mashing while standing 1 or while standing 2. She just waits and launches in that situation, or she does the full crouch sweep. Like it's when just the times you are plus, you're supposed to have your turn. Zafina says no.
Yeah, it's not your turn. And I think Zafina is another one, because I forget, I can't remember the name of the stance. Is it Tarantula or something? Where she's really, really low, and it's really difficult to hit. Not difficult, but your options are a down back 4, which is sort of rubbish. In situations like that, you don't really want to back 3 because it's too risky, and forward 3 is slow. And I find the same. That's why I brought Ling into this, because I find Ling can be the same, where when Ling gets low outside the skyrocket, and Ling players don't stay in AOP. No one just goes in there and stays in there. Like they're doing it to avoid something and then to continue the pressure. So it's really hard to pick a move that's going to sort of make her respect you and stop doing it. And I think that's why when you're saying that a lot of Ling players feel they can do what they want, because they know the majority of the obvious things for Hwoarang to do to stop them is a risk. You know, it's not free unless, you know, they're just frame savvy. And just her evasive properties. I mean, we talked about Hwoarang's moves, and Hwoarang's just really, really bad at tracking. Just really, really bad. I mean, he's got the homing moves, but, you know, outside that, people just walk all over him. And Ling, just the way she moves, she's very evasive, and I can find it can be quite problematic. When she's doing all that, let me go into rain dance and sidestep, and it can be quite problematic. And I'm forced to play Ling's game. I'm forced to play Zafina's game. I'm forced to play Steve's game. And playing their game for Hwoarang, that game is the game where Hwoarang doesn't shine at. He's not good at dealing with that.
Yeah, adding on to that as well. I think Alyssa does come into discussion of bad matchups as well. Because this is something I know Alyssa and Zafina can definitely do. I think Fahkumram's done it, but he's weird. After down 3-4, they just backdash the mix-up entirely. You can't down 3-4 sweep bang them. You can't down 3-4 switch starts down 3-4. They just backdash, and obviously now you've whiffed. You get launched for trying to be you're plus 14 and you want to take your turn, but you can't because they just backdash you.
I'm assuming Kuma is invulnerable to the low.
Yeah, I think Kuma does backdash it, but with him it's just like he's not going to step anything. I'll just keep him in check with a 3-forward or something like that, you know. But speaking of Akuma, down 3-4 DP is a memory that will live with me forever.
So anyway, they don't care about Hwoarang's life, man. Namco don't care.
They clearly do because they keep giving him stuff.
I feel like they just keep giving the wrong things though. They're just like
not the right things.
Yeah, not the right things, but
they are the right things.
What are they? The only.
No, by the way, whenever anyone asks for buffs, the answer is literally never down forward 1. Just a rule for the podcast.
Yes.
If anyone's discussing anything, no one is ever allowed to say more range or tracking on the down forward 1. Anything, any buffs related to down forward 1 for any characters. Done. So go.
Honestly, I know when we talk about buffs later. There's only one buff I've wanted for Hwoarang really since like season 1. Just the one thing, and that's make up back 3-3 15 frames. Just make that 15. Let me be able to launch Steve's full crouch down forward 2. Because down forward 2, it doesn't hit at all. I don't see an issue with that. You know, he can launch minus 15 lows. Maybe that could completely change Hwoarang's game, and they're so afraid to give it to him. But to me, it's just give him the range to launch minus 15 stuff that down forward 2 won't hit. The damage on it isn't as good as down forward 2. You still get a launch. That's literally one thing. Just if you want to give him one thing, up back 3-3, I-15. That's it. That's the only thing.
Nah, you can't get me going on the things Hwoarang needs. There's just too much. Like for me, I think because I compare him to someone like Dragunov, and I just get angry and just get irritated when I look at that character. Like, okay, so he's got down forward 2, launches, crouch. This is Dragunov. Down forward 2, launches, crouches. And what is it on block?
It's 12.
Minus 12 for something that launches, crouches. And then Hwoarang to launch a croucher needs his back in 3. What's that?
He doesn't.
What does he need?
Oh, he doesn't.
What does he need?
just
Launch crouches.
No, not crouch. What else does he do to launch crouches? What, up, back?
Stream skyrocket. Like a man. Like a man. Like a scared child.
All right. Okay, fine.
I also hit confirm up back 3-3, by the way.
No. Okay. To be fair, Haroun's quite good at that. Haroun's quite good at that. Using up back 3-3.
Really weird.
But for me, I mean, I think outside the obvious low crush, high crush nonsense, just having stuff. I mean, because Tekken has moves which are guaranteed. Tekken's it's like on a sliding scale. On the far right, you've got moves that track. On the far left, you've got moves that don't. But there's moves that are in between, which they'll track, but they're not actually marked as homing moves, but they will track. And Hwoarang just seems to have all of his moves on the far left or on the far right. So you're either doing a homing move to try and keep someone in check, or you're not. And everything is really, really quite sidesteppable. So for me, I just want to be able to, because his range is quite good. I think I can't remember which Tekken it was, where they've improved the range of just his 4. So 4-3 is really good for punishing get up kicks. You can always be confident that no matter how far you are, if you block their get up 4, 4-3 or 4-4 is going to punish. So I like the range.
It was tag 2, I think.
It was tag 2 where the range was obviously buffed.
Because I remember like when we would play BR, I would just do like a 4-2-1-4 randomly with Brian all the time. Because you can punish it with anything worthwhile.
Exactly, because everything would miss. Exactly. So I like that, but in terms of what he should have, he needs a low crush. I think he needs a proper low crush. I don't like I think his low crush is too slow and too obvious. He needs a low crush. I'm not too bothered about high crush. He needs a low crush. Something that goes. Sorry, he needs a high crush. Something that goes under highs. Sorry, something that goes under highs. That's not so obvious.
Not down back 3.
Right.
Something a bit better.
That's too.
Down back 3 is
too slow. He needs Dragunov's down and 2. I want to down and 2.
No,
I want to down and 2. No, I'm asking for that. Service all these years. I want to down and 2.
no.
I think it's fair.
Backlash is lip service, yeah.
Down back 3 is a really fun tool against Kaz because you're literally doing it all day and then it gets blocked once and you die. Oh, I want to go under electrics. Oh no, I'm sorry I did that. I'm really sorry. Please forgive me. Please don't kill me.
He needs a down and 2. Something's just to go under the highs.
By the way, that you've also suggested this be a punch, keeping in with the soul of Hwoarangs
Taekwondo theme. He needs a down and 2.
Finally, the move that saves him.
Well, I will say RFF.
Decking their ankles.
I know we have to be in RFF, but like I said, RFF is his neutral stance. RFF back 4 is a really good high crush.
This guy likes that move. It's trash.
I don't know. I guess that's to me. That's one of the perfect lip service buffs that Starscream talking about, because RFF. How often did you use that move before? Besides green rank forward 2 into RFF back 4, how often were you using that move?
Never, because the reward was trash, and now that's like
now uses this move all the time. It's like, oh God, I'm doing it. Like, now
it's just so silly.
Speaking of high crush, didn't he used to have like some fairly decent high crush in Flamingo, and they took them out after in Tekken 7?
Oh,
yeah.
He has the snake edge for high crush.
Yeah. So you mean the LFS down back 3 and the RFS down back 4s?
Right.
Yeah, I quite like
that.
That's
part of why I said I had to relearn him, because his left flamingo in previous Tekkens was really strong. He had the parabellum kicks, which is the left flamingo forward 3, which he has now in right flamingo, those fast kicks. He had those, which was good for stopping people pressing buttons. In left flamingo, he had down forward 3, which looks like his right flamingo down forward 4. And on crouching, he used to get some guaranteed stuff. And he had as you mentioned, he had the high crushing sort of low kicks from Flamingo. So you were covered for everything. You were covered for people that ducked, you were covered for people that pressed buttons, and you were covered for people that pressed jabs. That all did highs, and all of that just got wiped out. All of it wiped out. So now, when you're in left flamingo, they totally removed everything from that. Which, like I'm saying, for me, that meant I had to now learn. I can't stay in left flamingo now. I have to get out of it. If I'm left in left flamingo, it's dangerous for me. So that totally changed my game. So a lot of my game was based on left flamingo pressure, left flamingo mix-up. So that wiped that out totally.
I wonder why they removed that though. The left flamingo,
because they hate him. They don't like him. They wanted to give him lip service. No, they wanted to give him lip service later. They knew what they were doing.
They love him, but he like you said, he completely annihilates new players, and they still keep buffing him. Like he is. Everyone, whenever the patch notes get released, gets incredibly upset at the fact that Hwoarang gets buffed again, because they hate him.
I think they wanted to make him more coin flippy. So if you look like down 3-4 buff and the sweep bang, those are your go-to lows now in the flamingo stances, and they're just incredible. Yeah, they're incredibly rewarding, but like the sweep bang is risky, and down 3-4 has a bit of cheese to it when you're trying to punish it, but it's not like, it's not. It's not LFS down back 3 how it used to be, not like a relatively safe pokey low with the counter hit property that you could strategically use. It's just down 3-4, down 4-3, switch stance, down 3-4, down 3-4.
The things that beginner or intermediate players complain most about Hwoarang are, of course, the flamingo mix and Backlash. And I think, like, just to go back to Backlash a bit, I guess on paper it seems like a terrible, terrible move. It's high and it's really slow, but in every other respect, it's amazing. It's a tracking move. It's plus on block. It's a power crush, and it has really, really good whiff recovery. I think it's probably his best keep out move for that reason. Like, instead of a magic 4, you just kind of hop back in RFF and throughout the occasional Backlash, and it's really, really hard to punish.
I think the thing with Backlash is some people who complain about it generally don't know how to. They just don't know what they're doing. Like they will watch it just go by, block it. Like it's very reactable. I remember when I played Daniel Maddo in Italy earlier this year. He ducked and launched every single Backlash. He didn't miss one. Obviously, Jin having an I-14 launcher helps to that. But I've seen characters, with 15 frames do that all the time. Ducking it is by far the easy part. The hard part is, I think if they were to change it, the only thing you do is, I think you nerf the active frame, so it's easier to duck and launch for most of the cast. That's the only thing I do. I mean, on whiff, in the mirror, I'm always hitting back 3. Obviously, back 3 is a good whiff punisher in itself, but I'm not missing the whiff punish on that. Ducking, and I will duck and while standing 3 most of the time, just to keep it safe. But yeah, I think it's good, but definitely overrated.
Yeah, it's exactly how you explained. It's the active frames are the cause of the issue, because as a keep out move, it is a bit risky, because on a clean whiff in neutral, it's way easier to whiff punish than ducking and launching it. Just because it's active for so long above your head, you get clipped a lot when you're trying to rise up and launch him. So that's the annoying part of Backlash, I feel, is when you've taken the effort to duck it and you don't get to punish it. But on clean whiff, where due to a range issue, it's quite easy to whiff punish.
And I think, Tekken 7's been out for a while, and this is the first Tekken with proper power crushes. And I just think a lot of the time, just the way the power crush animation happens, people can be mashing buttons or hitting you, and they see the backlash, and it's as if they're trying to counter hit you out of the backlash. So they keep pressing buttons, and then eventually it's just, it becomes a counter hit against them. And that's why I tend to hit it the most. You don't use it to whiff punish. I'll throw it out, and people, they're sort of mashing a string, and they're like, if I keep pressing these buttons, eventually Hwoarang will stop, and he doesn't, and then that's a counter hit into a big combo. But is it overpowered? Is it dumb? I don't think so. From Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag, it was the same. It was always difficult to punish. There was no power crush aspect of it. But eventually, people had played me so much, they got very good at just ducking and launching it. So I think
you also had to duck it in that game because it was really scary on block.
Yeah, and it turned you. It made you face a different direction. So as a blocked move, that it was problematic. So people would always duck it and launch. So you couldn't use it. But I've been on the receiving end of it as well, and it can be quite annoying, especially when it's like, what's her name? It's like Alice's rage art to a certain extent, where you think you've ducked it, and then you want to punish it, and all of a sudden you get clipped by the active frames, and that's quite frustrating. So I've been there, but even still, as Kay was said, I will still while standing 3 it to get my maximum damage. I think it's just practice. So I don't think it's that bad, because you can, it's not broken.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, it's something which, again, it's difficult to find a balancing thing for this. It absolutely murks new players because they play big Tekken. They want to play big Tekken. They want to play big moves. So it hits them and kills them, fucks them up. But it's like Backlash is specifically bad against small Tekken in some ways due to the Power Crush properties. Because Backlash is moderately easy, like it's doable to duck it on reaction in neutral. But if you throw a down forward 1 into a Backlash, the slowdown allows you to duck it on reaction every single time if you're paying attention. Against small Tekken, like Steve, for example, there's almost no practical moves where you're going to Backlash Steve.
Yeah, and
more than that, you're going to end up taking
it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
More than that, you're going to end up taking like way more damage than you thought. Like certain strengths will just completely rinse Backlash. On like Steve can do it on reaction. Like I said, you just duck cancel, and then like you're underneath it. He's absorbed all the Power Crush, and then he punishes you.
And then he punishes. Yeah, because what's his face? Yoshi player. What's his name?
In Trench.
That guy. I was in Germany playing him, and who uses Yoshimitsu's back 1? Who does that if it's not a combo? Kane Trench was doing it, and I backlashed, and then he did it, and he did the maximum -1 number of spins, and then everything just slowed down. So he had all the time in the world to duck and launch. So I just took the worst damage. But yeah, no, you're correct. Against Steve, once again, the bad matchup. There's nothing you're power crushing through. I think against characters that have big strings and, as you're saying, big Tekken, it's really good, and it does destroy that. Outside that, very compact jabs, movement. That I don't think that's much of a. I don't think that move is causing anyone a problem.
When we talk about matchups, I'll say. To go back to it slightly, he's all right against a lot of characters in this game.
Hwoarang?
I think there's a lot of matchups which, I think there's lots of matchups which are just all right.
I think
fine.
with Hwoarang, he just doesn't
think
like
what are his
like, I think he's okay against Marduk, and like
I think
I don't think he's got any good matchups.
His best matchup now, Gigas. That's a funny matchup. that is a funny matchup to play. Whenever I play Gigas plays, I feel bad. Because Skyrocket now being safe is so awful for Gigas. That was the only thing he had really going from in that matchup.
Yeah, the 1-2 punish on it.
Yeah, and I remember when it first got changed, I played against this Gigas player who didn't know. So I did Skyrocket. He kept trying to 1-2, and I just kept launching him. And I felt very bad. But yeah,
you didn't know, really, did you?
No, I didn't feel bad at all. It was hilarious. I think in general. I think the matchups where he has, good things, like, Marduk, for example, jabs going under it, down for 2 going under his jabs. Marduk also has good things to deal with that matchup, like, his while sending 1-2 after a block down 3-4 and stuff like that. So, like, Hwoarang's a character who he's all right, but he just doesn't have that matchup that he dominates. I think in season 1, he actually used to really kill Chloe, because Chloe's hop kick was -17. So that's a back 3. Also on the Cali roll, he can... If he blocks the first 2 hits, he will always get a guaranteed... If she finishes it, guaranteed launch. Actually, no, I think he always does left flamingo up forward 4, and they'll always launch. You just have to depend. It's just timing. If she doesn't finish it, it's a different timing. And if she does, you've missed it and you've done the thing. I think Chloe's still that's a good matchup for Hwoarang. I think, her strings and stuff aren't really that much of a problem. And he deals with it quite well. The only annoying thing now is the hop kick. Because -15, he can't always launch it. If he had up back 3-3, I-15, he'd always be able to launch it, but that's
the shameless plug again.
Yeah.
But that's a different story.
So I still feel like Kazumi is probably still pretty tough. Other than that, probably all the tough ones. Yeah.
Oh, wait, Alpha in the chat said Eddie is a good matchup for Hwoarang. I have to vehemently disagree with that. I think the matchup became better when because of the back 3 range buff, he can sometimes launch sidestep 3+4. But I remember when I played, so there was a New York London exhibition a bit ago. When I played Spirogin, every single blocked down 3-4 he launched. Every single one. And
yeah, you're right. And you're brave if you're trying to launch punish sidestep 3-4 back and through. Like, I wouldn't try that. I mean, Eddie, does he get down forward 3+4 if he blocks back and 3?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I'm not trying that.
And then like I think Eddie can keep up Hwoarang quite well. And on relax, I think he gets a back three flip, which is this nice Oki is better than what some characters get a little poke. I think that's nicer, but like he can't pick up relax. There's like I think it's an even matchup because they can do to each other, but it leans in Eddie's favor because of the stuff that Eddie, like I said, down before he launched every single one on a 3-bar connection. Maybe that's just Spirogen being crazy, but part of it as well is just the matchup isn't there. I think he can keep up Hwoarang quite well. The only thing is like forward, Eddie can't step it all the time reliably, so he can kind of get in for free in that matchup. But you know, forward is at -7 on block or something, so you've given up your turn in Eddie's face. Doesn't really mean much, but it's not a good. I don't look at that as a good matchup for Hwoarang.
I will say it's the best it's ever has been.
Yeah,
like in Tag 2 it was awful. It was so bad.
It was terrible in Tag 3. Yeah.
So the fact that
but then from the back, was it back 1? Was it back 1-4 or something?
Yeah. Yep, and
also just the fact that Hwoarang didn't have anything that hit at that kind of range. He didn't even have forward 4 or anything like that. If someone was just farting around at long range, just doing sidestep both kicks, sidestep 4, just randomly going into relax, you just didn't have anything to do. You're like, am I going to do forward 3?
Yeah, against relax.
And you're just like, nah.
Down back 4 was your option against relax. Yeah, so fun.
I remember playing Asim in Tekken Tag 2. I remember practicing for that for that matchup, and there was one string. I can't remember if it's his up forward 4 1+2 mix up, but it was one string that once you block it, it's something that ends in alone and ends in relax. And your only option to punish it is full crouch down and 3, because he beats everything. Like he beats the while standing. If you did while standing 4-4, he could hit you in between, because the while standing 4 miss and you were relying on the second one, but he could hit you and everything. So the only thing you could do is full crouch down and 3 or some nonsense like that. And it was, I remember it being really painful to just, as you say, to get in and to deal with it. And I remember playing in versus fighting, and the only option that I felt I had to hit relax was proper. It was back in 3, and that's dangerous though. You know, using back in 3 to try and pick up relax or to use as a punish, yes, it will hit, but, you know, people don't, similar with AOP, people don't go and relax and just lie in front of you. They're doing it at you know, times where you now have to guess, or they're doing it with the evasive properties. They don't really lie there in relax. So for me, I find that matchup a bit, it can be swings and roundabouts. I wouldn't necessarily say it's good. It leans in Hwoarang's favor.
Like,
can we talk
people
about
say people say the scoop property is a bit much in this game, but I think it really helps Hwoarang in these matchups, having the back 3 scoop hit relax, and you get a bit more reward. You get a mix up afterwards, because in the old games, if you hit them with a back 3, they'd kind of just float in place and be fine afterwards.
I was going to say, can we talk a bit about the Marduk matchup? Because you guys mentioned it was pretty good for Hwoarang. And as a Steve player, Marduk's probably my worst matchup, just by virtue of down 4 alone. I can't low parry it, I can't launch punish it, I can't do anything, really. Except just, you know, get annoyed by it. So what does Hwoarang have against Marduk?
So the best thing in the matchup is down 4-2 going under his jabs. I think that's the best thing. And I think it's an option select for is the string like 1, 2, 4 in the headbutt. I think
1, 2, 3 both punches.
Yeah, I think that's an option select for that string. But I think it's only slightly in Hwoarang's favor, because just by virtue of how Marduk is as a character, like it's not like Marduk's options are being locked down. He can still do everything that he basically does. It's just in certain situations Hwoarang has a decent time. Marduk's still annoying to fight against, but it's not matchup specific, right? There's not anything about Hwoarang that makes Marduk more difficult to fight. It's just how he is as a character, but Hwoarang can still do. He has a few nice things in the matchup.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think like Hwoarang, like I said, he doesn't really have any super good matchups, and particularly, but he does have a few like tournament popular. There's a few characters which are popular in tournament, which he's fine against. These are just, the better player will probably win them. I think he's fine against Marduk. I don't think there's a particular advantage either way. I think he's fine against like Akuma. He's all right against Mishimas.
So did you say he's fine against Akuma?
He's fine against Akuma. You just do 3-4 unless you're like Kwas and you don't want to beat Akuma.
I think with the Akuma matchup, because it's a matchup I've had to play just quite a bit recently. I think it's an okay matchup, but if you do there are things you can't do. Like down for 1-3 as a punish, you can't do that because even on hit, Akuma's going to DP you. Down 3-4, if he has meter. If you hit down, people just start mashing 4 because that's his only option that cannot get EXDP'd. You could do the power crush, but there's the risk that like he takes damage, floats away, and then you're in a position where you can't touch him. The Akuma matchup isn't awful, but a lot of characters have it worse against Akuma. Like it's not Anna versus Akuma, but it's okay. But Dinosaur says I don't want to win the matchup. So I think Eliza's worse than Akuma. I think.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Eliza's really, really hard to get in on.
Yeah, I think T-Bart's not the best.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of characters that are better than Hwoarang that he can hang with. Only a few matchups which gatekeep him, really. He's like King is obviously a better character than him. Like, but that matchup isn't too bad. Like, what else? Like, Elisa's pretty bad. Kazumi's kind of pretty bad. Even's fine.
How have you fought against the Mishimas? He's decent against Mishimas. I've never played Mishimas, and I don't know if it's because of my Mishima experience against the likes of Ryan Hart, but I've never felt, oh no, Hwoarang's going to suffer in a Mishima matchup or a Jin matchup. Yeah, I think he's all right against those.
I like him against Kaz, but the problem with Mishimas now, this is a bit more a personal thing because I like to whip punch all the time with back 3. The problem with Mishimas now is the electric recovery.
It's too much. It's too much.
I think that's just they can throw it out for free and there's nothing you can do about it. That's the only thing I think about those matchups that's really terrible. Heihachi's Wild Sending 2 is terrible against Hwoarang if you're just mashing.
Apart from Backlash.
Yeah, Backlash is Backlash. You got Backlash. I think he's all right against Mishimas. He doesn't suffer in the same way other characters can do against them, so that's not bad. He mainly suffers against, I think, like female characters with evasiveness. Like I think Lily isn't good for Hwoarang.
But she just seems rubbish, though.
The thing is, rubbish. Did you say?
She just seems too bad as a character. Like she just seems too incomplete.
Lily's not good as a character, but I think just what she has is just so good in the match. Like her movement is ridiculous. Matterhorn just destroys a lot of his move list. The new forward 3 buff and CD 3 buff that was +4 meant nothing to Lily. Because I think she does her parry or something. She can also Matterhorn it. You have to make a big brain read and go for the power crush after it if you want to stop her from mashing there. On a block down 3-4, so obviously the thing all Hwoarang players do for the block down 3-4 is just forward 4 and I've caught you. Lily's Wild Standing 2 goes under no matter what. I think Kazumi's the same with Wild Standing 2 as well. She goes under. And yeah, just Lily's movement in general just makes the matchup annoying to play. It's not one of his worst, but it's an annoying matchup to play. I think she can do some very good things in the matchup. And with Hwoarang's poor tracking, except for his homie move, she just can just dance around him all day, which isn't fun.
Lily is a weird character though, because her two biggest strengths are her evasion with her movement and some crush moves, some high risk crush moves, and then her other big weakness is her other big strength is her lockdown. Yes, she has a bunch of plus on block moves, but these two strengths don't complement each other at all. So she's just a weird archetype. And plus a bunch of weird hitboxes, like her down forward one is possibly the worst in the game.
Yeah.
like her and Zhao Yu are examples of characters with incredible evasion and terrible tracking of their own. Like, so it weirdly balances out quite a lot. I think she's another character where if you just like constantly walking left a lot, blocking, you just sort of maybe like step left, duck kick every now and again for quarter circle both kicks. But I think she is a weird character because she's so straightforward to play. She's an all right tournament pick, but there's like characters which are like as straightforward as her, which are also straight up better. So she just gets sort of left in the dust a bit.
I can see why she does good against Hwoarang though, because of the Matt Horn and evasion.
Leroy also sucks, but that's just to be expected with the way that character is.
Leroy eats both of my mains alive. Like I can't get it. But it's arguably worse for Anna, but yeah, Hwoarang isn't fun either. So yeah.
I think the King matchup is funny though, because you mentioned that earlier, Dan. So the King matchup. One thing, I played Schrödinger in the first of 10 the other day, and one thing he did against down 3-4 is he block the first hit and then parry the second hit.
On. That's why Schrödinger is the best king in Europe.
And it was consistent. And that was the one thing I was like, yeah, this guy's a bad man. This guy's a bad man.
People are asking, how's the Fahkumram matchup?
I mean, it's a weird matchup. Like it's got the same Marduk effect, down 4-2 going under his jabs, but his kick parry is annoying, and his hurt box thing used to affect Hwoarang quite bad with up forward 3+4/4 used to just whiff. But they had to, for some reason, instead of fixing his hurt box, they buffed up forward 3+4/4 to make it more consistent. Which I thought weird. That was like, just touch that character that's affecting everyone, not Hwoarang.
That's the weirdest change. But they did eventually change his hurt box recently, but his legs are still all over.
It was just his head they fixed, apparently.
Yeah.
I haven't played Fahkumram online too much. So I mean, my Tekken playstyle has always been punishment and movement. So it's always about knowing where you can punish. I mean, I've always loved delayed hop kicks for anything. If there's an ability to delay hop kick something, I'm doing it. And it's fun because I end up doing it in places where people don't even like. You can delay hop kick that. I love it. But with Fahkumram, what I played online, I mean, I even played Asim online. The character's he's just strange. I mean, I don't think, I'm not sure if there's anything that's Hwoarang specific that makes him a problem. He's just a problem. Like he's he's awkward to fight. But I don't feel, when I'm playing that matchup, I don't think it's as bad as something like Steve, where I feel I can't do anything Hwoarang-ish. I don't feel it's like that. But a lot of he's just a really good character. So, I wouldn't say Hwoarang suffers anything specific because of his move style.
Yeah. I will say from my matches against Fahkumram so far, I feel like you do have to disrespect him a lot because he puts you in such a mind game with his mix-ups on block a lot of the time, especially at the wall. So Hwoarang's quite good counter hit tools. If you see a gap, if he's going for the on-block wall splat, for example, and you have the read and you want to launch him, you can back 4 him in between, or even forward 1+2 him in between. So it's like you get rewarded for your reads in that matchup, but it's not particularly, like, you might as well just play Steve, really. It's not particular for your counter hit tools. So it's not like outstanding, but it's something that Hwoarang can make use of.
You guys mentioned that Hwoarang's down 4-2 goes under Marduk jabs, Fahkumram jabs. Does it go under Brian jabs as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah, expected. How is that matchup, Brian Hwoarang?
How I wins that?
It's just
all the time. You're right, Dodo.
That wasn't what happened the last. No, it's slightly in Brian's favor, but it's mostly because he's a bad character. Like it's not like it's not a matchup. Not really a matchup thing. I mean, the main two things are like, Hwoarang, in Hwoarang's favor, he has down 4-2 going under jabs, and he's one of the characters that can launch punish while standing 1 pretty much every time. And in Brian's favor, he can just blow through stuff with forward 4 and while standing 3, including like down 3-4 block. If you duck the high, it's an easy while standing 3 to interrupt either Parabellum or the Power Crush.
Counter hit launch.
Brian's just like that.
Counter hit launch for that. So yeah. A good reward if like the Hwoarang mashes in after the down 3-4.
And every Hwoarang mashes after the down 3-4, so it's easy.
Like Brian, I think he's just a better character. If you play for a long time, 2 people of like completely equal skill, Brian would just come out on top because it's a bit harder and covers space a bit better, and like he's just wall game does more, like hurts more. He would just edge it out more over time, but like there's no like it's just fine, especially in short sets. It's just very even.
Bit of an off-topic question, but we were talking a bit about Fahkumram earlier. What do you guys think about the Pakistani community's decision to ban him from tournament play?
Let's ban him. Ban him.
I think
beat him from the game.
I think why my main thing is like, if you're going to ban him, go ahead, because I think he needs to be fixed right now. He's not fit for play. However, my thing is why wasn't Leroy the first one? Version 1 Leroy. If characters are gonna get banned, why was version 1 Leroy not the first one? We were like, yeah, this character has to be banned from something. He shouldn't have been allowed to enter Evo Japan in that state.
All right. So what you're saying then is, you think version 1 Leroy is bad than version 1 Fahkum?
I think version 1 Leroy was the most God mode character we've ever seen. He had everything. His orbital was -3 on block. Why? Backcon +2, 12 frame mid count hit launch was like -5. His Kane was +8, which meant after Kane it's a mix up orbital or hell sweep. His down 3-2 is it's Hwoarang's down 3-4. That's easier to punish, but with good tracking. Back 4 was just a safe mid homing move that counter hit. That wall splat naturally. Then he had back 3. Yep. Yeah. Then he had back 3, which is a normal launcher. Normal hit launcher that is safe for some reason. Back 1 and back 1 +2 should never exist together. His damage off forward 2-2 was ridiculously obscene. Like it was 13. Yeah, and it's -13 anyway.
They knew what they were doing. I think they wanted shock value. I think that's what they went for. I think that was a business decision to put out a character that's totally broken because it will catch the headlines, and then tone him down. I don't think they dropped the ball on that. I think they very intentionally made the character that strong, or in the idea of grabbing the headlines and then toning him down afterwards. With fact, I'm not sure that's the case. I don't think. I'm not sure whether they're doing that, trying to grab headlines again. I think that's him. I think this is. I think that's what they're trying to do.
I think Fak is an accident.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I think the problem stems from that initial trailer where they revealed him and he's like towering over Marduk, and then you see him in gameplay and he's like about the same height.
But to be fair, they couldn't do that. It's like, do you remember Street Fighter anime? There was sections when Ryu was like this and Sagat was like that. So it was exactly the same there.
I saw a meme where
and then Sagat takes about 10 minutes to run about.
That's the same movie that ends with Ryu drop kicking a truck.
Was it like a bin truck? And with all his power, he's like, forget the power. I've got you, a bin truck. See you defeat this.
I agree with Fact being an accident, because if you look at stuff like his back 2 charge setup is ridiculously hard to sidestep or sidewalk, which the thing about his, guard break charge step is like, okay, you know, if you block, you die, but you know, you're supposed to use movement and stuff like this to get around it. Like if you're making one of his charge steps that hard to step, I feel like that's an accident. His hurtbox has to be an accident. That throw had to have been an accident. I feel like he just, you know, like the Powerpuff Girls intro when they're like, you know, sugar, spice and everything nice, and something they forgot in Chemical X. That was what happened with Fahkumram. They accidentally got the Chemical X in there, and they're just trying to like sift it out right now.
I'm just imagining like, Fahkumram dressed as a Powerpuff Girl now.
Well, I've seen a Josie costume for him. I've seen people dress him up as Josie.
Oh yeah. That's terrifying.
But I'm against the ban though, because it doesn't give you a chance to highlight exactly how he's broken. So it's not very much information for the balancing team if they're just going by online results.
No, I think they know. I think banning a character is the community's way of sort of protesting to say, you know, that this character's so unfit for purpose, we're not even allowing him. And I think for developers, that's not a good look. I think it's bad when they're saying that this character is so extreme that he doesn't fit in with the rest of the game. And I don't agree with. I don't think he's so broken that he should be banned. My only fear is, I mean, look at Evo Japan. Everything was just Leroy. Everything was Leroy because of how bad he was. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case with Fak. I think. I mean, I saw there was a tournament in Korea recently where I think in the finals it was it Ni versus?
It was Ulsan.
Yeah, and they were both using Fak. And to me, I'm like, yeah, okay, he's a new character, so yeah, I expect to see him a lot more. But I'm not sure if it's banning territory. I don't feel so
around for a few months now, though.
Yeah, so that's my point. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure if that, because the first time I saw characters banned was Tekken 5's Heihachi, when Heihachi came out, because Heihachi. You know, Hachi was supposed to be dead, and then he comes back, and he had, I think his string was 221, which was a 10-frame. It was like a 10-frame launcher, because after the 221, like you had that sort of weird fallback, and he got guaranteed moves, and they banned him. And I remember thinking that it's a bit extreme, because that you're saying the character's so broken that we're not doing this. It's so broken, we're not doing that.
Imagine a game where people could get 60 damage off a jab punish. It's like, it just seems ridiculous. Imagine getting a whole 60 damage off like a jab. It's insane.
It was I think with that game, it might have been as well because of how new he was at the time of the tournament. With Fak, I just think it's a totally new territory. I'm not sure if the rest of the community will follow on.
Yeah, I don't agree with the ban. I mean, as we were saying earlier, I think the reason why Fahkumram is so strong is unintentional, and that's mainly because it seems like he was stretched out like just before release, so people wouldn't laugh at him. And then COVID happened, so there wasn't enough time to fully test out the consequences of that. And a lot of his strengths seem to stem from that. I mean, he has an amazing backdash, probably because he's so tall. He has amazing range because he's tall. He has a janky hurtbox because they stretched him out. And yeah, I you know, if you're comparing version 1 Leroy with Fahkumram, clearly Leroy is the bigger problem here. But I think the reason why the community banned him is because he's the straw that broke the camel's back. You can't just look at Fahkumram in isolation.
Yeah, I get that. Like, because obviously, like with the Tekken, the DLC characters, Leroy was the first one that was awful, and then with Fak, I do agree, probably unintentional. Being in this way is the thing where we're saying like we're not going to accept these characters anymore. I mean, there's no point in banning Leroy now. I still think he's a ridiculous character, but he's come more into line. There's no point.
So Leroy was nerfed less than 2 months after he was released, right? Been how many months with Fahkumram? He's been slightly nerfed, but yeah, like with the accidental thing, it's just like we talked a lot about on the podcast about like neutral tools are just really, really important in this game. Just like basic stuff like range. Like Shaheen is really, really good. Because Shaheen is a tall character with long range.
Yeah.
His down forward 1, his down forward 2, and his hop kick and everything, like it just has long range, and his kicks and everything. Long range, because he is tall and he has long limbs. He just has decent movement, and this makes him good. The same was true of Bob. Like, has always pretty much been true of Bob. But one of the things that makes him incredible is just he has super long range on his moves, because he's stupidly tall.
Yeah.
Need to stop doing this. Like, Leroy was a concerted attempt to make a broken character by like taking all the things that people talk about as being devastatingly good and then just chucking them all into one character so that he could be on the surface. People would see him. Fahkumram feels accidental because he's always all the things that no one ever talks about as being good in Tekken, which are actually still incredibly good. He just has really good range, really good movement, and really good really good unflashy neutral buttons, which both makes him insanely good. I would argue that he is at least, release Fahkumram, I would argue has about the same level of tournament and deathmatch consistency as Leroy did. He's winning about as much, which is pretty much almost everything. But there are still tournaments which are being won by other people. Just incredibly unflashy, and it's also absolute cancer to watch. I would ban him just because he's ugly. He's ugly. He's way uglier to watch than even Leroy was. Like, this character is, and he's never going to be interesting to watch. Like, no one's ever going to be like, hell yeah, there's a Fahkumram in there. Even like the people who've won tournaments with him, they're not playing Fahkumram in casuals because the character is hideous to play. Like, you can tell this by watching him. Like, delete him. He's never going to be good. He's never going to be fun. Just nerf him into the ground. Make him like a Gigas, so only like the people who really love him for how he looks because they're weird, play him. Like, just nerf him into the absolute dirt because he looks like. Gigas is also incredibly boring to play as and against. Like, it's not fun at all. But like, he's trash, so it doesn't matter. He needs to go down to Gigas tier. And that will ban him.
I don't know, because he's canon though, so I don't think he's going anywhere.
Fire him out of a cannon.
I just don't think he's going anywhere. And I don't share your. I don't think he's as ugly as you say. I see what they try. You can see what they're trying to do. They wanted to put a really physically imposing character in there, and I think they've done that with just his size and his dominance. I don't think they got it right, but the whole wall stun thing, if you don't block, I don't mind that if the mix up wasn't so difficult. But then if you don't make it so difficult, then it falls into uselessness. So I don't mind. I see what they're trying to do. I just think they've missed the mark and accidentally created a beast in the process. And I mean, a lot of people talk about balancing characters. I don't think it's easy to balance characters. I don't think it's always as simple as just adjusting their frames. And you know, your game can go through a QA cycle, and your QA can test it, but it only gets tested really once it gets to the player's hands, and they discover the worst that the character can do because they're just more inventive, more creative. You know, they're the ones, they're the target audience. So, I mean, you look at what happened to Lars. Lars fell off a mountain. I mean, he's typical Mishima. Like, he just fell off a mountain. And that's an example of overdoing it.
Do you miss seeing Lars in tournament?
No, but I feel bad for what they've done to him. Like, I don't know, it's too much. Like,
no, he can stay. He can stay where he is. That character was crusty crackers with no butter. Like, he can stay where like the people who love him can play him, and everyone else can be thankful that they're not playing against Lars anymore because he's boring and he sucks.
No, like what they've done to him is embarrassing. It's too much.
Fine. He's fine.
He's not fine. He's
fine.
So to me, I just hope that they don't do something like that to Fak. But I don't know how you balance him. It's one of the things I really like that they did with Akuma. Like, Akuma was too much, and they managed to find ways to buff him, to nerf him, without taking away the essence of the character. Yeah, but and I think that's really hard to do. I think some of the things that people complain about, if you end up tweaking them too much, the character just loses the character loses their essence, and that's happened to Lars. Lars is just anything now. Just with a few tweaks.
The difference with Akuma though is that Akuma is cool and fun. These Lars and Fak are bollocks. No one likes them.
Lars, I'll give you that. Fahkumram, I don't think so. I think he's got some stuff.
What is the essence of Lars? I mean, I think Lars could be if they took him, if you could do stuff like crouch cancel his forward 3, his dynamic entry, so you can make him a kind of a crouch mix-up based character. I think you could fit him in that kind of archetype. He could be quite cool. I mean, the coolest thing about him.
Do that?
No, you can't. You can't go from forward 3 directly into crouch. I think that alone would make him much more interesting and fun. I don't understand why they've never done that. But the thing is that a lot of people complained recently about Leroy and Fahkumram and calling them pay-to-win DLC characters. But new Tekken characters, more often than not, tend to be too strong. I mean, there are some outliers here. I mean, I'm trying to think of like some weak DLC characters. Like Negan was just whatever when he first came out.
Negan and Noctis weren't great.
Yeah. And Anna out of the bat wasn't too good. They've buffed her a bit.
But I mean, thinking back to all the Tekken 7 characters, like Shaheen, 7.0 Shaheen, stupid. 7.0 Claudio, stupid. Kazumi, mega stupid. So it's not just about them being DLC and pay to win. I just think that's how the Tekken balancing team works. They present you with an overpowered character and then chip away at them. Though Leroy is obviously the exception. He obviously was designed to be a bit dumb overall.
I mean, they tend. Sorry, go on.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I think with the Tekken 7 cast, they are so. I think the Tekken 7 cast is the worst cast of newcomers we've had. I think in a long time. And if we talk about characters coming back, I think every single Tekken 7 character is on the chopping block and potential to go. I think barring maybe Claudio because he has some story relevance, but
he's more interesting now as well. Claudio, I think Claudio in season 3 brings something to the table.
Yeah, like he's but when like all the Tekken 7 characters, they had like the same. They all had the generic tools. They all have hop kicks. They all have down forward ones. Claudio back 3. They all have, for some reason, since Tekken 6, like the only command there is a character have is 1+2. That's one thing I noticed. That's one thing they added. They all kind of just like fit. There's just like a checklist of things they wanted all Tekken 7 characters to have, and most of them have that. So I feel like they are very likely to go. And like, yeah, they did come out stupid, like Shaheen, Audio, but then you had like Lucky Chloe, who,
yeah, I was gonna say,
I don't think anyone's really a fan of that character. John Ding played her out of necessity when Eddie wasn't around. And who else is new to the game? I genuinely can't remember.
Trina's in there. Who else?
Katarina.
Yeah, Katarina.
Yeah, like I think she has a high. I mean, Katarina and Gigas have I think a lot of people don't know their story relevance together. Like Gigas is somehow Katarina's dad. I don't know why that's a thing. I don't know. It's a thing.
No, they need to frisbee Gigas. Just get rid of him, man.
I think Katarina and Gigas, both of them are probably going next game. I don't see any reason for them to come back. I would like for Leroy to come back. Just fix
I think it's a cool design. Yeah. It's a real waste of potential. And you were saying, Dinah, I think in an earlier podcast, is that there's sort of a ghost of an interesting character there. With all the unique stuff he has, like the cane and the parry and all that stuff. But it just
I think Claude.
Go on.
Sorry, I think Claudio, Leroy, and actually, even though I don't like her design, Lucky Chloe, are the only ones where you could say these ones might be interesting down the line at some point. Yeah. Everyone else can just go. Like with regards to the balancing, it's sort of like Haywis said. Characters tend to be either super good, or they tend to be absolute bollocks. Like Lucky Chloe, as opposed to all the rest of the Tekken, and Gigas, as opposed to all the rest of the Tekken 7 cast. They were all either incredible and incredibly boring, They were garbage and also incredibly boring. And I think, like, in general, in this kind of scenario, you should just make them crap. No one was really out there being in Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection. No one was really out there being like, oh, I wish I could play Dragunov properly, but he's rubbish. Like, no one cared about Dragunov. No one cared about Lily. No one cared about all of these. No one cared about Armor King.
Yeah, but that's because they were rubbish.
But like the people who wanted to play them because they liked how the character looked, they played them. And eventually those characters got fixed up to levels where they were all right, but they were trash in that game.
That's not how you sell a character, though. I think. So what you're saying
I don't think it matters.
No, it does. Because to me, DR is the perfect example where they brought in those three characters and they were absolute trash, and you didn't see them. And that's not what you want for your brand new characters. Look, here's brand new characters we're working so hard on, and no one uses them. I think the Leroy thing was an extreme case of we just want him pasted everywhere, so let's really buff him. But to me, I think it makes more sense that you pick strong, because everyone wants strong characters. No one wants weak characters. So it makes sense that you release these characters and they're slightly stronger. And then that gets people's interest. And then slowly you chip away because you already have the interest. Versus doing it the other way around. If you bring them in and they're rubbish, they fall off the map straight away. So it's almost like wasted effort.
But I think you need to steadily like increase the power levels. Like, because you have less of a risk of them bringing them in, and you've just made some easy mode character that just totally outclasses like legacy characters. You just made like a Kazumi or a Jinpachi, and people are like, "Oh, I'd quite like to play Mishimas. Oh, wait, this character's 25 times easier than them."
So you're talking about,
and is also about as good.
So you're talking about the newer players, whereas I'm talking more about the people that are already involved and would potentially pick up these new characters. I think once the people that want strong characters are more likely going to be the ones that have been playing, and now there's a new addition of characters versus the people that have never played before. Because I think if you've never played, your go-tos would be someone that you really like aesthetically, or someone that you know is really, really good in terms of character rankings. So just bringing in someone that's a bit rubbish, because I just don't think it worked in DR. I just think DR, those characters just.
But those characters all ended up being like, well, most of them, like Dragunov ended up being incredibly popular because people were like, all right, so he's not good, and they just power crapped him like as the time went on, and he became a super popular character. Like there was no worry that like the character just jumped in on the tournament scene, just like, and was just like day one. Like just Jinpachi just walking in there with down forward both punches and just being like, hey guys, I've got 2 moves. There's no need to play any other Mishimas now. Here I am. Like, doesn't matter how long you've been playing. If you're entering into a tournament, pick me. Don't pick any of those guys.
But that happened over time, though. And when I say over time, over Tekkens, plural, because DR came, no one cared about their lives. 6 came. I'm not even sure if Dragunov. Actually, yeah. So Dragunov started getting interesting in 6. In BR, that's when Dragunov started getting interesting. I'm not sure if I'd said the same about Lily.
6.0 was the one where they were like, why don't we make Dragunovs running too much on normal hit? People
yeah.
Yeah. And he's all right now.
I just think that thinking of putting my developer hat on or my business hat, I think that's how you sell a new character. You put them in there, you make them sort of stand out over everyone else, and just chip away at them. I think that formula.
But that's the thing. Like,
if you go too far with that,
I think sales.
Sorry, I was if you go too far with that, you get the whole. Though. So sorry, go for it. Anyway, I was saying.
I was just going to say, I think sales come down to where we got too much delay.
Okay, I'll just go first. So, if you go too far with that mentality, you get the whole Leroy situation. And like he put a real dent in the scene, like for a few months. Like people were really complaining about him, and yeah, he definitely hurt competitive Tekken. And you know, like last week, was it that esports channel just released a video about how much Leroy kind of destroyed the Tekken scene, and we made a bunch of podcasts about it, and we were complaining about him, and you know, he was talk of the town for a while in a very negative way. So you got to be careful.
Was it negative though? I mean, yes. No, because I'm one of those that believe more often than not there's no such thing as bad publicity unless you've ruined the game. And to me, they didn't ruin the game. They put a character that just dominated, and all the talk was about how dominating this character was. And Namco weren't there, like, oh, what have we done? They knew what they were doing. It was intentional, and they always had the plan to nerf him. So they were willing to take the complaints to gain the screen time. And then now, I don't think people stopped playing Tekken. I remember the Knee put out that post of, this is really bad because this character's canon and it's different to the guest characters, blah, blah, blah. No one stopped playing Tekken. I don't think it hurt their numbers. I don't think it hurt their brand. People complained, but they still played. And eventually, he got nerfed, and it's all back in line now. So I'm not sure if, when we talk about it hurting, people complain, but it doesn't do enough damage to stop people playing.
No, I feel like the vast majority of actual sales come from huge casuals, and like you said, it's mostly aesthetics in that regard. Like, people will just pick who they like. They'll just be like, oh yeah, I really like Noctis or Negan or whatever, or Leroy, and they'll just respond to like meme clips on Twitter or whatever, or any kind of weird thing that they see. But I don't think it actually affects the actual sales of the game aren't affected that much, but the competitive scene and the level of like sort of discourse around it, like, it did become a lot more like negative around, like, it has become a lot more negative recently. Like, and I just feel like if you introduce new characters, it sort of doesn't matter how good they are, because if you look at online tier lists of how many who's playing what, it doesn't look anything like a tier list. Like, it's not really like the best characters are not getting the most usage. People are not being drawn to like the game to find the best character. Being drawn because they want to mash people to death with kick strings using Hwoarang. Line. So yeah, I mean, I think it's fine to just, like, if you're not sure about characters, particularly if they're boring, which most of them are, just make them weak. Bring them weak and then bring them up to speed. They did it with Negan. No one wants Negan to be any better. He's boring as hell. He's probably too good for how boring he is. Like no one's out there being like, oh yeah, I love me some Negan, want to see some more Negan, let's watch some Negan. Like, see, they did. That's how you do it. You have a boring character, he's rubbish, or he's all right. You make him slightly better, everyone's happy.
But I wouldn't call Negan a successful character, though. I wouldn't say that Namco is smiling, patting themselves on the back for that. That's not a good representation. Yeah, he's under, like, he followed your archetype. I'm not sure if
everyone was happy. I was happy about Negan. He generates positivity.
I don't think
no one has to see him that much.
I'd rather he wasn't in the game, to be honest.
Yeah,
obviously everyone does. But like,
what was the aim with Negan? Is it like to bring Walking Dead fans into the game, or
yeah? Because I think they were very successful with the guest characters, and they were just reaching out, and The Walking Dead was quite popular. So let's bring Negan in. I'm not sure if any of those Walking Dead fans, people that are Walking Dead fans and not Tekken fans, I'm not sure if they're playing this game because of Negan.
Yeah,
I think Walking Dead was on the way out, and when you got Negan as a guest character, I just don't understand the relevance of him.
Yeah,
it's a weird choice for sure.
Yeah, all things to bring. Like, I'll never forget watching that Evo and just hearing little pig, and like, I wasn't like excited and like, yo, I was like, why? Like, it just didn't make sense at all. And yeah, sure, he's a character, but he's not particularly good. And like Dinosaur said, he's boring, but he exists now, and he'll be gone next game, and no one. I think what he's going to become just a fun memory. Like, yeah, remember when Negan was in the game? How stupid was that? And then that's
gonna be like all the Soul Calibur guest characters.
Like Yoda and everything.
Yeah, Yoda.
But I feel like if they were going to add a Walking Dead character, they should have added Daryl, but not him from The Walking Dead, but him from Death Stranding with his like backpack and like the embryo attached to him. That would be a way more fun guest character than
throws your embryo in you.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I guess we have a few more Hwoarang topics to tackle. One question here is about comparing Hwoarang and Baek or Baek. So Hwoarang saw a bunch of Baek moves coming into Tekken 7. So if you did bring in Baek now, there's a Season 4, Tekken 8, whatever, would he be mostly redundant?
I don't think so. It's like King and Armor King. I think and one of the things I really like is, although Baek and Hwoarang are both Taekwondo characters, their styles are very different, and because their play styles are very different. There's nothing. I don't think they overlap, and I think there is room. I mean, I'm not saying I want Baek back, but I do think that there is room in Tekken for both of them. I don't think that Hwoarang's taking so many of Baek's moves that it makes Baek redundant. Same for Armor King. I mean, Armor King and King. King took even more of Armor King's moves this time round, but when you put them next to each other, they're nothing like each other.
I do think they'd have to overhaul Baek substantially, though, because he would be such an awful character if they just dropped him in as is, like his tag 2 counterpart. He would be dead in the water.
That's what I was thinking.
I think the decision to bring, so there were like clone characters in Tekken. I think they wanted to cut down the roster for Tekken 7, and it made sense. But I think just bringing back those clone characters was weird. Like, they brought back Anon, where we have Nina. They brought back Armor King, where we have King.
They're all dead.
I feel like, I don't see. I never saw the reason to bring them back. Obviously, they were popular, but they were basically clones. So I think Baek was the most unique. I mean, he's actually not a clone. Their move lists were very different. Or the only reason they're clone-ish now is because they've given Hwoarang his stuff. And I do think, I guess, if the roster does expand, which I hope it doesn't at this point, there's room for him. But like Haroun said, he'd need something.
But you're saying he needs something not because of how many moves Hwoarang has from him, but he'll need something because you just think his play style wouldn't fit in Tekken 7. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Because I think Armor King is someone who hasn't translated well to Tekken 7, and I feel like Baek could have that similar problem.
I feel it'd be even worse for Baek. I think Armor King was a relatively solid character in the previous iterations, whereas Baek is like, if he can't get to your back with Flamingo Step, he's got nothing. So.
I tend to agree with Haroun because like Hwoarang has power crept past Baek. Like, I think in 5 and tag basically, Baek is better than him. And in the games since then, Hwoarang has just gotten better, and Baek has they've just sort of shifted him around a bit. But Hwoarang has definitely gotten better. He's gotten lots more stuff. There's sort of no doubt in the later games who is the better character out of the two of them. And Hwoarang took a big jump in Tekken 7 as well. I think he genuinely did. Like, there's lots and lots of things that he's got that like really do help out. Might not help him against Steve, but and I think the problem with Baek is that if you made him as good as Hwoarang, like if you gave him the buffs he would need to compete in this game, I think he would need a lot, just because his flamingo strings were less airtight than Hwoarang's anyway. There were lots more interrupts to them. Was less rewarding to interrupt Baek, like stuff like things like Lars up forward 3 or Devil Jin up 4 and all that kind of stuff were already really tough for him. If you add in like power crushes and dragon punches and so on, it would get like, you'd need to do a lot with him to make him work. And that would make people incredibly pissed off because they'd suddenly have another Hwoarang on their hands.
Do you think
early like intermediate players would find themselves getting absolutely rushed the fuck down again, and they would be really, really upset.
I was going to ask, do you think Baek's Flamingo Step is still better than Hwoarang's current iteration? Because Hwoarang's one is really good now compared to how it's
definitely much better. Yeah.
So he would still have that over Hwoarang, where his Flamingo Step would just be ludicrous, like getting to your back instantly. But yeah, it's not like it's just a gimmick, really.
So the last game both Hwoarang and Baek were in was Tag 2. What was the main differences between those two characters in terms of play style?
I think you could. Because for me, I mean, they're so different. You approach the game totally differently. They both have Flamingo, but you can't use a flamingo in the same way at all. I couldn't use it in the same way at all. And as Dino said, there's too many interrupting places or places to interrupt Baek strings. So you couldn't really string with him either. So I always found Baek a very awkward character in Tag 2 because I struggled to find where he sat comfortably. I couldn't find a place for him where I feel confident doing this, and this is how you play Baek. Because I would always feel I'd hit a glass ceiling. So it was always too easy to get around some of his stuff.
Yeah, so I think one of the main things is that Hwoarang can go into flamingo pressure, and it's very strong, but he needed highs to do it. Almost all of Hwoarang's moves that go into flamingo are a high. Meaning he's always been vulnerable to just step duck and all this other kind of stuff, with the exception of right foot forward, down forward 4, whatever. Baek can do it from mids, but when he does it, like I said, it's just less airtight. Meaning he can force guesses, but they're always really ugly guesses of he has to just finish. It's a cancelled string where he's vulnerable if he does the cancel, and you just batter him out of it.
Right.
The option for him to finish the cancel is either a launch punishable low or a launch punishable mid, and can step them both in one direction. So it's every option has considerable risk. But other than that, yeah, his pressure was very different. It was a lot riskier to commit to. His lows just weren't as strong. His down back 3-3 was negative on hit, and had to cancel it if you wanted it to be plus, so it didn't do damage. And yeah, I mean, but he would still be incredibly annoying for people to play against because he had duckable strings. He had a snake edge.
He had a magic 4, right?
Yeah, he had a magic 4.
He had a magic 4. And yeah, his and in a game with the movement was much better. The lateral movement, his was his stood out. So, and he did a lot of damage for it. So if he did get to your back, it was a 90% combo. So with tag assault.
I liked his. I liked the whole doing having access to majority of your moves out of Flamingo. I mean, I think we touched on this earlier, being able to do 1-2 jabs into Flamingo, into down forward 2, into punch parry, things like that. He had access to those moves. And I think, he'll have to continue that for him to be different. It's one of the fears of giving that to Hwoarang and then bringing them so close that it totally wipes out Baek's, or totally makes Baek redundant. And I don't think we're there yet. I still think that, I agree, if to put him in, we have to do a lot. But I still think he's considerably different now that him and Hwoarang have space together.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Top 5 Hwoarang players in the world, do you think?
I think there's two. That's like a 2-pronged question, because there's the tournament players, the tournament Hwoarang players that travel, and then you have the ones that I think some of them are considered better than some of the ones that travel, but they don't travel. They maybe just stream. They might go to an event here or there. So I think there's 2 answers to that question, really. It depends.
Yeah, it depends on the definition of best. We move the goalpost when it's Hwoarang, because whenever you think of the best, if you're talking about who's the best player in Tekken, you're talking about the guy that's likely to going to win tournaments. And I think with most characters, when you're talking about the best, you're talking about if these people were in a tournament, who's going to come the highest. And with Hwoarang, I think people tend to, when they say the best, I think sometimes we might mean who's the most entertaining to watch.
Sure.
And I think we moved the goalpost for him because he's so rubbish that he's never he's never up there anyway. So yeah, I think there's 2 parts to that question as well. Who they are? Oh wow. I like Rest.
Yeah.
I put Rest up there. Speed Kicks just because of what he's done. I I've never seen speed kicks. His Hwoarang isn't visually
pleasing.
There's like people that play Hwoarang, and there's eye candy that you're watching. You're like, wow, the stuff he's doing with Hwoarang is really, really specific. But with speed kicks, he was just very solid.
Yeah.
And he was very fast. But that was enough to carry him to the highest stage. So I can't take that away from him. So I'd have to put him up there as well. I'll let the rest of you answer the rest.
I think Hwoarang for sure. Hwoarang is up there. If you look at his death matches with other Hwoarangs, I love mirror matches, and I give like a lot of weight to mirror match results. In Hwoarang, you can just see him like dominating everyone else he plays. So.
But what are you putting? Are you putting him as, I think if he's put in a tournament, he's going to do the best, or you're thinking he has a very pleasing, a very nice Hwoarang to watch?
I think if you put him in a round robin with every other top Hwoarang we think of, he'll come out on top.
Is that he's doing well in the mirror match, therefore he's the best, or like if?
Yeah, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know it's but if you're asking me top 5 players, he's definitely up there. You could argue he's not the best, but
I agree. I think he's one of the best, and people never let me forget for some reason. Whenever someone compliments me, like you're a good Hwoarang, so I'm like, not as good as Hwoarang though. Like, I hear that all the time. So I think if he was to go in the tournament saying he's going to do very well, I think he could make that top 5. But I think there's no result for me to pick from to be like, yes, he's
tournament wise, he's not shown what he can do.
Yeah, like I said, on the top 5 of the the people that don't travel as much, I think he's definitely there, like 100%. He could be best Hwoarang, if he went to tournaments, but he doesn't. For me, best is rest, and because it rhymes, it has to be true. Yeah, like if we're talking like the tournament travel Hwoarangs, like rest and speed kicks, I think Roinichi also goes up there. Because, he had a very good tournament result in Peru, I want to say. The Masters event, it was top 3.
His Hwoarang's interesting, yeah.
Yeah. And after that, I've run out of people to say. Because, like...
I'd say honourable mention is Hassan Naruto. He does well in Pakistani tournaments. And
but I hate his combos. I think Dan Band said he's such a boomer Hwoarang with his combos. He'll do something like skyrocket into 1-2-4 back 4, and you just sit there like, why would you ever do that?
But he still beats people with those combos.
He still wins.
Asim, right? Asim go parallels like a really really old player that just can't learn new combos.
With Asim, it's a choice, I believe. I think he chooses to do those bad combos. I remember him saying once, like he was like, well, "Why would you put all in this effort to learn combos? What I do as I go into practice mode, find the easiest thing I can do, and then I do it."
But then he doesn't do it though.
Talking about old school players, didn't Mad Dog Jin basically write the book on Hwoarang?
Yeah,
good though.
I still think
I want to hear Dinosaur's opinion
now, because I think he still streams now.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's as good as he was, but I think he'll always be held or revered as one of the original Hwoarangs that put Hwoarang on the map. But I mean, without once again sounding old, I'm even going back to, there was a tournament, I can't remember. There was a guy called, he wasn't King Bong Ming. There was a tournament back in America many, many years ago where this guy was, it's another Korean player, forgive me, I forget his name, but he was the first Hwoarang I'd seen. And there was a Japanese Hwoarang called Jingu. This is going way back. And these were some of the pioneers of Hwoarang. But I think around that time, Mad Dog Jin was the most successful because he was going to tournaments and he was winning with Hwoarang. And I think that's why, and he was doing it in a stylish way. It wasn't dry stuff that you were watching. You were watching some flashy combos. He even had a series of combo videos. So I think he'd always be held as one of the pioneers, one of the godfathers of Hwoarang. So I think he gets an honorable mention just because of how much he's done in the past. Like I said, I know he streams now. I just don't think he plays competitively anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he'd go in that top 5 of the ones that aren't tournament, but you know, it's a like there aren't many like people that are traveling with Hwoarang. Like me and Haroun are one of 5 in Europe. I think that you'll see fairly frequently. In America, they have like Speed Kicks and Serity, running back Eddie,
Prophet to a certain extent.
Prophet, Noel Strife. In Korea, none of them besides Rest is the only one you'll see. There's Kelthu, but he also plays Lei.
But Batsu will travel.
He's good.
Japan.
He's good.
He doesn't travel. He was like my favorite when I was first getting into the game. He was like my favorite, like number 1, my favorite. But he doesn't really travel anymore. I think if you're talking in a top 5, I think Alpha has to get an honorable mention simply because he's top 2 in Europe for Hwoarangs, I think.
Who's Alpha? You mean Starscream Jr.?
sorry. Starscream Jr. has to get an honorable mention. I mean, he beating Speed Kicks in the real match is no small feat. And he's been able to consistently perform at times. Like he gets a mention.
Both you and Haroun have won like decent tournaments though as well, with like strong European, or at least UK players.
I need the monkey suit to thrive.
I mean, Haroun needed a monkey suit.
Oh, wait a minute. How much Anna did you play in that tournament, Haroun? Yeah.
I played Anna mostly, but I played Hwoarang.
Get out of here.
I played Hwoarang against Kowis.
You beat me in the mirror match because I didn't punish back 3. Hwoarang player's biggest sin. I didn't.
Haroun, like, this is one of the things I've respected the most in my life that I've ever seen you do. We've set traps within traps. We've got like a series of questions. One of them is like, you know, what's the secret to being a good Hwoarang player? Any fighting game player. You set traps within traps. Because ages ago, in this conversation, Haroun was like, you know what, guys? I put a lot of value on winning the Hwoarang mirror. And then we're like, oh yeah, and what was your biggest tournament win? He was like, oh yeah, that was the one where I beat Kobe in the Hwoarang mirror. Yes, Haroun, I respect it. You set it up from ages ago. Like, oh yeah, I really think you're on Hwoarang. We should respect him for winning Hwoarang mirrors.
It was all
yes,
the putting on that monkey suit and putting off everyone in that tournament. They just couldn't play against me. So.
I mean, the thing is, that tournament literally made our scene look like a joke. Haroun won a stacked London tournament in a monkey suit using Anna. In what universe does that make any sense?
Food traps.
For me, Haroun, we're 1-1 in the Hwoarang tournament, aren't we?
In tournament, yeah.
Because
you beat me at the District G thing, yeah.
Yeah,
that event was horrible, but yeah, I'll give you it.
What was wrong with it, Haroun?
Oh, I just left because my ears started bursting from the music in the background.
But yeah, I don't think. I mean, did we mention me and Haroun in the top 5? Because that's the thing as well. Like, when there aren't that many Hwoarang players that are traveling to tournaments and getting results, right?
You should be in there.
In Europe, possibly, but worldwide, I think there's a lot of Asian Hwoarangs that are really strong, and we haven't really played them yet. But
get out there, put your flag somewhere.
But the other thing we mentioned, like with the Steve thing, was like pioneers. And that was like, would be like Junggi J from Korea in Tag 2. Mad Dog Jin, he was a pioneer. Dude, just frame skyrocket every time. Mister in Japan.
Mister.
Sorry,
yeah.
Phil, just tell me, because I asked you this exact question in Tag 2, you and Ezzy, who are the top Hwoarang players, and you mentioned this Japanese player that would purely win by doing down forward 2.
Mome,
yeah.
Mome, yeah. All he did was down forward 2, and like Haroun was like, who should I play like? And it was like everyone else would have said like Mad Dog Jim. I was like, no, play like this guy. All he does is down forward 2. Sick.
Don't take advice from Dino, man. Don't do that. But yeah, no, it's interesting because you mentioned
Starscream. Starscream. The pioneer of UK, of European Hwoarang.
We are all his children.
Who's like, I mean, and bear in mind, like, we weren't joking. DR and every early Hwoarang is absolutely horrible, and he won like a major European tournament, beating Tishumon in the finals with some nonsense. Back when Tishumon was young and had reflexes. The person you see nowadays is slow and old, and Starscream banged him up. So
yeah, that was
no one won anything with that character, ever until Ezzy basically.
And that was the Marduk Hwoarang matchup back then as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been, I mean, because you mentioned Mister and all of that, and I'm not sure what's happened to any of them now. I see, and we said this earlier, the Hwoarangs become a lot popular now. But in terms of people doing stuff, tournament seems to be the totem pole. It seems to be the benchmark now that people use to measure anything. And I'm not sure if that's always fair, because there are Hwoarangs out there that don't go to tournaments, but you could see from either their videos or whatnot, these guys they have strong Hwoarangs. So I don't think it's necessarily fair to just use tournament results.
Speaking of older players, I want to ask about Daniel Phoenix and where he is currently, because I said earlier he's probably training under a waterfall. I know he's in Europe right now, and he could turn up at any point and upset things. So.
Yeah, I think Daniel Phoenix moved to Turkey a few years ago, and Daniel Phoenix was, to me, I mean, it's good that you mentioned him. To me, he was one of the better Hwoarangs. I played him in UT. There was one UT where everyone and their parents decided to come down. We had all the Americans, we had all of Venezuela, they all came down. And we did the mirror. And I think that was the very first mirror match Hwoarang I ever lost to. And it wasn't by much, but there's things that I learned in that matchup that I still use now, because he was really doing stuff with Hwoarang that I hadn't even thought about. I'm not going to spill the beans. You guys learn on your own. But he was really doing stuff that was quite different, bringing that Latin spirit with Hwoarang. So he has to get a mention as well. I think he still plays.
Yeah, I played him a while ago. I just ran into him randomly in rank, so he's about. I just don't know how seriously he's about.
And then I know there's the Epic Soffers. He contacted me recently. He's back to playing as well. So there's a few of them in Europe you're doing their thing. But as we're saying, there's not that much representation in tournaments. I mean, this COVID thing's messed everything up. So we'll see what happens after this.
That's just you just have to grind a lot to be like good at this game. It's very there's just a lot going on in it. Like even if you're strong at a few things, it's hard to get any tournament consistency. But if you're an old school player with legacy skills, it's still going to be hard in this game because there's lots and lots and lots of characters, and they will have weird strengths, and they will have good mix-ups and all this other kind of stuff. So
I feel that's my biggest weakness at the moment, I'm not a full-time professional in this game, so I do get caught out by matchups and things just for my lack of dedication.
Then you try and bribe Mario to ban Eliza, yeah.
I was not involved in any way to get Eliza banned. No, but yeah.
All right. So, last question or last couple of questions is, for beginner or intermediate players looking to play Hwoarang, what advice would you give them? And conversely, beginner intermediate players playing against Hwoarang, because he's often complained about, what advice would you give them aside from stepping to Hwoarang's stomach?
That's the only advice I can give.
What advice? So for the players, for people trying to learn Hwoarang, I think one of the pain points is knowing what stance you're in, because there is little visual clues, but I think you can get wound up into the wrong stance, and then woe be it the wrong move comes out. like that's really bad. You know, if you're caught in left flamingo and you want to get out of it, and you press the wrong button or you jump into the wrong stance, then it can get quite awkward with you trying to understand where you are. So I think they have to learn, because I don't want to say what moves lead into what. I think it's easier if you learn visually what stance you're in. Does that make sense? So you know that this is left flamingo, you know that this is right flamingo, and you know that this is left foot first or this is right foot first. So that as you're doing your moves, you can visually see. Because then when you're starting to do stuff and moves start to transition, you can just use the visual clues to know what you're in. I think that's a lot of people complain, he's got too many stances, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think that's where they fall over. So my advice would be learn the visual clues of what stance you're in so you know what's available from those stances.
I would say if you're attacking or defending, a big thing for Hwoarang is just start, and for Tekken in general, is you need to be looking at the risk reward of things. So Hwoarang's got a lot of moves and he's got a lot of things he can do out of flamingo, and in order to choose your defensive options or even your offensive, if you've got them on the back foot, you just need to know what you're getting out of it and what you're putting up for it. And it's just such a big part of Tekken, but especially Hwoarang is like, if I do this sweep bang, what situation could I be in afterwards? And yeah, that's one of the most important things when you're playing this character, I feel.
And actually, just off the back of that, I'm not sure if it's still the case, but Hwoarang probably has one of the biggest move lists in the game.
Yeah.
And I think when you approach that character and you look at that moves list, that is daunting for anyone that's new. You know, you look at that and there's like 100 moves. And 3 million transitions. I mean, I don't want to say this on record. Dino's guide sort of makes sense. But you sort of need a guide. You need a guide to know which moves are the pertinent ones to use, because a lot of it is filler, or a lot of it is combo filler, and it's not really stuff that you need to worry about. So you don't have to go through 200 moves and understand which ones are the best. You need a succinct guide of these are the ones that you're supposed to use in these situations. And once you get comfortable with that, then you can start understanding either what's combo filler or the functions of the other stuff, which is not, I mean, it's not much. He just has a lot of filler, and picking out the pertinent moves in that filler, I think it's best to have a go-to guide and not get distracted by the filler.
Yeah, that's one thing I'd say as well, because just he has a lot of moves, some of them just not useful really. I think, but one thing about him as well, like, because his move list is so big, there's still things I discover about him. Like, you know, his while standing 3+4, the leg swing around. Then he has the other version, which is back turned right foot forward 4-3. For some reason, back turned right foot forward 4-3 is unparryable. I've done it against Asuka. Asuka can't parry it, but she can parry. She can parry while standing 3+4, which is literally the exact same move.
What about crouch dash 3+4?
What's crouch dash, please? Oh, so that's while standing. Yeah, she can parry the while standing version, but not the back turn version, which I don't know why, but that was something I learned.
So that I believe that's his only move that's sort of non-generic that can beat parry, besides like a running 3.
Yeah, besides running 3, I think is his other unparryable move. Unless like some other character parries the back turn version for some reason. But yeah, like that, and I think that's just one of those inconsistencies with Tekken. Like, it's the exact same move. Why is the while standing one parryable and the back turn one isn't? I'm not sure. But I'm glad it exists, because now I have a war game against Asuka. Without just getting randomly parried.
He's got no elbows or knees either. We could have discussed this. The weaknesses actually is you could parry pretty much all of his moves.
When you do the instant while running 3 and you're fine, you know.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything to add to that? So I guess let's talk about if you're a kind of a newer player and you don't know how to deal with Hwoarang. What are some kind of nuggets of advice you can throw out?
Step to the side, his stomach is on.
I think you mostly just want to like just get really comfortable with blocking. Like just like I'm particularly like guard damage isn't a thing in this game. You can block if you block 8 moves and then you hit him the down 4 and run away. You've won. Like you've won that exchange. You've done more damage. Like a lot of the time, people will be giving you the information to beat them. If something in a string from Hwoarang looks like a high, it is. Like you can almost certainly duck it. He has like 2 real lows to speak of, and you just have to learn when they come. But even if you do know when they come, you can either they're down 3-4 and the sweep, the right flamingo down 4-3. You learn if you can block or low parry those, you will get more damage than if you will get more damage than they would have got for landing them. I'm not going to tell people to like sidestep and sidestep block or whatever, because they're not going to be able to do that. And don't run into like backlash setups. But yeah, like just get comfortable with blocking. If you block 2-3 moves in a row, don't panic. If you can block 2-3 moves in a row, or you get like a small thing in return, good, you're winning. Like you don't need to. The main thing which will kill people against Hwoarang is just freaking out, being like, I can't take it anymore, and just cracking under the pressure.
But the thing is that the pressure is immense, though. And if Hwoarang gets into his string stuff, you end up feeling, I need to press something because I can't take this. You can't just sit there. You can't just sit there while Hwoarang's doing his 3-3-4 change down 3. Like once you get caught in that, I think a lot of players panic, and you're right. It's in the panic that they press something, and that's when they've pressed the wrong thing. So I suppose for my advice against that would be block, but you at some point you have to sidestep. But I think pressing a button is dangerous, but you have to side. And I don't think you can. You have to know the matchup. You have to know the strings or the weak points in the strings, so you know where to sidestep. And eventually, the Hwoarang player has to do one of them. They have to do the mid high, or they have to do the low high. Like they will do it. So you have to know, or you have to be a bit smart in when to. Either intercept with buttons or when to sidestep to try and get out of that vortex. Because by the wall, that's still, I mean, even me now, by the wall, when Hwoarang players get you in that vortex, it's still a problem to deal with. So that problem never goes away. But out in the open, you've got movement options. So I'd say explore the movement options of how you get out of that for mid-stage evasion. Against the wall, your best bet is being familiar with the strings and knowing where the high is or where the low is, so that you can try and get out of it. I mean, the player can always mix you up, but if you're familiar that after these 2 kicks, the next one is a high, then duck it. Yeah, try and get out of it that way.
I agree with pretty much everything you guys have said, but failing that, you can always, if you're unable to stop yourself panicking, just pick a character where the panic button is so good against Hwoarang that it's ludicrous. Or just like I'm thinking of you, Fergus. Just pick Asuka and do like cycle through one of them.
One of the many panics, back 3, can sidestep anything. Yeah,
sidestep 2, like cans, fun times. So. Follow these guys' advice first, but failing that, you can always fall back on picking a strong evasive character.
Cool. Okay, and I guess last question for this Hwoarang podcast is, what buffs and nerfs would you like to see for Hwoarang? And leading on from that, in what general direction would you like to see this character develop in future iterations of Tekken?
Up back 15 frames. That's the only buff I want, please. I will trade a liver I think a level like I had more than one.
He died for us. He died so that we could punish -15 from range.
But yeah, and in terms of just like nerfs and finishing, like I think the two throw, don't give us. I don't want that guaranteed back turn 4. I want to think for my Oki again. I guess the way to fix that is either nerf the recovery on the throw, or make it so his other plasma blades don't hit grounded anymore. I think just when you're like in just making him better for the future is just like take away more of the brain dead things. You know, if you want to nerf him, nerf backlash recovery slightly so you can duck and launch it easier. And just like, I guess, make certain things maybe easier to deal with. I'm not too sure. Like when it comes to down 3-4, it's one of Hwoarang's we've talked about. This is so difficult to deal with. Blah 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 blah. Like I block it, I barely get punished. But like when you say that to me and you play a character like Anna, I just know you don't know what you're talking about, because Anna blocks down 3-4, full crouch down forward 2. Like there are options. People don't know their options. I think that's a problem. People need to learn their option to deal with certain things. They'd rather complain than learn their option. So I do think maybe change certain things, maybe make, you know, it easier to deal with, you know, backlash. But the number one buff, up back 3-3, 15 frames, thank you. And for nerfs, just the two throw is the one thing that just has to go immediately.
Yeah. I'll say for nerfs, I think RFS needs an overhaul. I really just like the sweep bang RFS back 3 mind game, like mind in the most contrived form. It's horrible, and I don't like doing it, and people don't like defending against it. So why not just take it out? So for buffs, Dinosaur's going to hate me for this, but I really want the T6 up forward 3+4 back. I want it to be a safe hit confirmable mid again.
Yes, please.
Because
yes, please.
Dino really hates it whenever I bring this up, but yeah, it's true. It's the thing I want most of all. And maybe lower the hitbox a tad so it can hit AOP or something. So just having him in approach.
It's going to be negative on hit again though.
Oh, it was negative.
Okay. I don't mind that. I don't like testify, Haroun. Preach. I really agree. I think reducing or lowering the hitbox, and because I liked it as a way of getting in, that was safe. And when they first made it -10, the first 2 hits, I was like, yeah, it's -10. Maybe no one will punish it. Everyone punishes it. Everyone punishes it.
Yeah, it gels you if you finish it, so you can mash out your punishing. But
yeah, you can just mash out.
Yeah. And it's such a hard hit confirm for not much reward. I really don't like. I don't see why it was made punishable. Phil's reasoning is that it's an ugly move. So, you know, I mean, you can spruce it up a bit, make it prettier if you want, but I just want to. Yeah, that's my buff.
All right, so for me, I think for buffs, as I said, I want Dragonov's down in 2. To be fair, I mean, that's on the wish list. I don't think it's going to happen. For buffs, I want them to do. One of the things I don't like Tekken in Tekken is the generic down forward 1. I mean, I understand what the move does, but let him have a generic down forward something else, some down forward kick that does something similar. It doesn't have to be a punch. Let it be something at least related to Taekwondo. Just a simple buff is I want him to be able to use kicks. Just let him use kicks. I don't know why he can't.
Well, like Claudio has back 3 for his 13 frame mid. It's a knee, so something.
Yeah, do you see what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean something like that where it can do the same thing. It just doesn't have to be the generic punch. Yeah. I want him to have some sort of magic 4. I would prefer them to give him the nosebleeds because that was unique. But failing that, I can't. I mean, imagine magic 4 into forward 4 or something like that. Maybe it's too much, and that's why they're reluctant to give it to him. But yeah,
in this game, it would just be magic 4 into Just Frame Skyrocket.
If it was nosebleed, I mean, if it was nosebleed, but if it was a launching version of Magic 4, where the first hit actually is a launcher, then it'll be Magic 4 into forward 4 into the beam, and Because I enjoy the uphill struggle. I don't like it being too steep, but I enjoy the uphill struggle. So I don't want him to be one of the best in the game that is untouchable. I like there being that part where you have to think. So I can agree the back turn throw. Although I don't find it too bad. The two throw that you get a guaranteed back turn plasma blade. I mean, you talked about. Kaius, you talked about ways they could change it. They could, as you said, they could either stop the back turn plasma blade hitting on the floor, or they could just push him, make you land slightly out of range so it doesn't hit anymore. And in terms of the character direction, I just want them to stop generifying Tekken. I just don't think it will happen, but I just want them to bring back Hwoarang as very similar to what they had before, where there's something more unique about him. If it's going to be guard crushing stuff or stuff that really breaks your guard, or counter hit tools that he can actually use his legs, things like that, I want them to take him in a direction where his legs are actually useful. It's so irritating having to start the Taekwondo's offense with jabs.
Is it?
Shut up. And it's not like jabs are good. It's just because that's all you have. I mean, in previous Tekkens, people like Paul had really good jabs. They had really strong jabs. Nina, she had her jabs. Hwoarang's, it's not like that. It's just that's all he has. Like, you want to get into an offense safely, you go and do 1-2 jabs and hope for the best. So I want them to get rid of that. He's Taekwondo. Let's make that the focal point and not make it rubbish.
So my thoughts were, I still prefer old Hwoarang, but this version is much more competitive. So you have to make sure that you don't change him so that he's crap. Also, I would like them to make sure they focus on making him interesting. But there's a few quality of life changes they could do. Down on both kicks. Why does this not do? I was talking about this to the Haroun the other day. Why does this not do generic down 4 anymore? I can understand it in Tag 2 where down and 3 plus 4 was a move. It's not a move anymore. Can he just have down generic low kick be assigned to down both kicks again? I don't understand.
Well, that's the raise drive input, isn't it? Down 3 plus 4.
But in Flamingo.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what I said to Haroun.
But his rage drive, though, we didn't think
his rage drive.
Rage drive, yeah. Oh, no, you're right.
Then down back 3 plus 4.
Yeah, just give him some kind of generic.
Down back is unblockable.
Yeah.
I think every direction
has too many moves.
Every direction with kicks, more or less, something, isn't it? So
take out down 4-4. Just take it out and give us down 4.
Get rid of it. But I think the reason why they took, because that was a decent high crush, and I think they really wanted to. I think they really didn't want him to have a high crush that was any good. So they got rid of it. And you're right. I think it might be the rage drive thing. When I'm looking at it now, it's the rage drive, isn't it? It's the rage drive.
Some kind of generic down 4. I don't know how they do it. Think about it.
Down and 4. Get rid of this down 4.
Yeah, get rid of down.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is just a scrubby legacy move no one cares about. I think the punch parry for Flamingo, that's fine. One thing I would change is I would mess around with his punches a bit. I think his down forward 2 should have more high evasion on it, like Paul's. I don't think it should. I don't think it should launch on normal hit. It's ugly. I'm sorry.
So it should do what then? Because we've lost nosebleed. So what should it do then?
It shouldn't do anything. It should only launch on counter hit.
So it hits exactly like down forward 1.
Bob's,
it could be like Bob's. It's just like Bob's.
Oh.
Okay, so it just takes them off their feet and okay.
Yeah.
Nah, forget that. I'm not feeling.
No, shut up. People aren't just going to be playing this character by spamming down forward 2 anymore. I don't like it. But shut up.
But what's going to happen to his 15 frame punishment though?
I would change forward both punches. I would change forward both punches to knock down on normal hit, like Heihachi's forward and 3 does. You can do forward both punches into run up back 3. Then he's still using punches, so he's still a Hwoarang. So he's still holding on to the shoulder Hwoarang, but he gets to use a kick at the end of it. So you can be like, oh yeah, this character uses kicks. And also, it's not a generic fucking down forward 2 anymore.
Oh no!
What?
This guy's an idiot.
Hey, wait, I'm not done with my changes. Down forward 4 closer on hit. As this moves so far away, why doesn't the frame advantage exist? Left foot forward, down forward 4 should just be closer on hit. Doesn't need to do anything special or knock down. Just doesn't send them miles away. RFF back 3 should do nosebleed again. Everyone loves nosebleed. Think of all the fake death combos people did with that, where they did that into just frame skyrocket. Like people love fake death combos. Flamingo sidestep should be back. Everyone loves Flamingo sidestep. It should be as good as Beaks was. What else? Oh, down 3-4 should be reverted to season 1. I don't like it. I'm sorry, it's ugly.
No. Because
it's ugly.
It might not be that bad now. Season 1, I think it made it a bit hard for him to compete. Maybe now with the other buffs, the other lip service buff that he has, maybe it's not so. Maybe down 3-4 is not so bad for it to revert.
They should buff the range of back and forth a lot. Because it's supposed to be his magic 4, but it doesn't work. No one ever uses it because the range is garbage. They should give a significant range buff to back 4, left foot forward, back 4. That's sort of my. Then if you do give this stuff to Hwoarang, he has better movement. He's not doing down forward 2 all the time because he's got better movement with Flamingo step. He's got a high crush. He's got more defense against punches. He's not doing generic down forward 2 all the time. And he can hit hitting sidestep is slightly more rewarding because once he hits them with down forward 4, he gets a decent mix up afterwards. But he's still probably wouldn't be that great. And he's not as brain dead because you never do down 3-4, down 4-3 in open space, which is so ugly and I hate it. Like in season 1, you just did down 3-4 and then you did right flamingo forward and 3 because he couldn't do anything else, and it was over. That was great. And eventually they might get tired of walking into the forward and 3, and so you would like stance switch and do something else or whatever, and eventually you could build up something from it, but mostly you just had to finish it there. It was great. Season 1 down 3-4.
I'm glad you're not in charge of of Hwoarang's character direction.
Just the best.
All right, guys. Is there anything you want to add, or shout outs or mentions or anything like that?
No, I'm on the Discord now, so I'll try and be around more. I want to see what's happening with the world of Hwoarang. See what you guys are doing. I think everyone's on Steam. I'm an old man, so I'm still using PS4. Me and Haroun have some mirrors every now and again. Maybe at some point I'll jump on Steam. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, and then I'll get to play some of you guys. See what you newbies, you UK pussies out there are saying.
You whippersnappers.
You young whippersnappers. So
yeah, we've been discussing it for a long time actually, but I'd love to do a podcast of Starscream and Dino and Ryan and Cobra and like all the old school heads, just like like a big reunion. That would be super 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 fun.
There's too many stories.
Yeah, we'll have to arrange that. So, Dino, Haroun, Kwis, Starscream, been such a pleasure having you here. Thank you very much for your time. And
thank you for having me.
Cheers for having us.
Great.
All right, no worries.
That's been great fun.
All right, take care, guys.
Take care.
Take it.